What's
wow.
up, y'all? It's another week of Wakanda Whiskey and Blurdom on the Black Comic Lords. I'm your host, Paul, and with me, as usual, is my boy Mark.
What's going on? What's going on?
Power Punch.
I got it right this time. Aha.
Look at that. Look at that. You're learning. All right, man. Look, this is the favorite, time that we do this show when we have new Black Panther material to read.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I need to pour myself a little something, something. I'm still drinking this Fort Mose.
Yeah, that's it's sitting on my bar. I've got so much whiskey. I've got more than the average person, but not a lot in comparison to some other whiskey connoisseurs. So I'm going through stuff bit by bit. But tonight I decided to try something different. I didn't realize, but I had the fixings for whiskey sours on my bar. Had no idea. I just happened to see it today, so I made myself a whiskey sour.
Well, let's say
And
what's up to our people in our chat.
can I finish?
Oh, I just wanted to say hello to our fine guests.
They'll be there. They'll be there.
All right. They're more important than we are. So Pericles Dragon Ball, what's good, everyone? Chad Kinsler, what's up, man? Afro
London.
Science Comics. Greetings from Greenford, London, England. Dedicated BCL fan. We got a lot of fans out there from the UK. Big up to all of you. Patrick Andrews, what's up? Appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate you too, man. Half Dead Customs. Man, I finally hit you up on Instagram. Got to try and do that thing with the statues, man. Wiseacre Comics. Man, they're doing some good stuff, man. I still haven't read these comics, but we got to talk. We got to talk. Comics are dope. Hero Mode Podcast. Big fan. Thank you. Appreciate that. Would love to have you guys as guests on our podcast. Thank you very much. We got invited someplace that people think we're house trained. That's cool. Okay, Mark, you're sulking. Go ahead.
I'm just waiting for you to get finished.
Go ahead and talk about your whiskey sour.
As I was saying, so like a lot of times people make cocktails and it has a lot of fixings or whatever the case may be. When it comes to whiskey sour, they have whiskey sour mix, and all it requires is 2 ingredients: your bourbon or whiskey of choice and the whiskey sour mix right here. Now I've had this, I can't tell you how long I've had this, but it was up here, but now obviously it's
hold on. Yeah, I'm going to give you your own spotlight because I need to go get some water. So go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the whiskey sour mix that I bought. Bourbon of choice, about 2 ounces of the bourbon or whiskey. You got about 3 ounces of the whiskey sour mix. Combine it with ice in your shaker. Shake it up good. Pour it in your whiskey glass over rocks. I garnish mine with a nice cherry right there. And that's what I've been sipping on for the past hour or so, waiting for us to get started. So hopefully everybody had a good week. Hopefully you'll have an even better weekend. And while we're waiting on Paul to get his water, like as if he's not done this every Friday for the past 2 years, make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. That way, whenever we pop on screen on Fridays, whenever we're available, you'll get notifications. So you can watch both of us sit up here and drink whiskey and talk comic books. So once again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also follow the social media accounts of Black Comic Lords, which is on Twitter and Instagram is Black Comic Lords. I'm not sure if they have a TikTok, but it might be out there. Facebook, I'm definitely sure that they have that. I'm not on the Facebooks anymore, thanks to Mark Zuckerberg, but that's a whole nother story. So yeah, so hopefully everybody had a good week. We'll have a good weekend, and hopefully you'll enjoy what we're getting ready to talk about. Because of course, this week, this is the first thing that we're going to talk about. It's an extremely good book. If you have not been getting this book, you need to get this book. This is what we have been waiting for the past literally 2 years, seeing T'Challa in this manner. You got to get this book. You got to read this book. and definitely pre-order it. Just don't walk into the comic book store and say, pull it off the shelf. Pre-order it on your comic books at your comic book store, your local. Tell them, hey, I want you guys to pull that one for me. That way, the powers that be at Marvel know that it is a popular book, and to continue it, or at least continue T'Challa, who most of us want to see. I can't hear you, Paul. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Are we finally in our T'Challa section?
I mean, that's where we start.
That's where we start.
Keep on back! Keep on back! Keep on back!
Woo! Shout out to Brian Edward Hill for making us happy.
Yeah. The way that he has done this, he has. Okay, all comic book writers obviously are storytellers. And he has come up with a unique way to tell the story of a new villain or new villains for T'Challa, who is Moon Knight. But as we are accustomed in Marvel 616, Moon Knight is not just one person. Moon Knight in the Ultimate Universe are two individuals. One of them goes by Khonshu, who is the Moon Knight, and the other individual goes by Ra, and he is the agent of the sun. And what's interesting is you see them. I know Paul probably pulled this picture up of them, but one of them is wearing a white suit, the other one is wearing a black suit to show the dichotomy of their union. One is light, one is dark. And it's just extremely well done. The art is spectacular. I like the way that they have T'Challa drawn. He's, as we said before, he is a unit. And basically what that means is he looks like he will whoop your ass if you step out of line. It's just an extremely well done book, and I look forward to every issue.
Hey, shout out to Bo Biggs with his super chat. Appreciate it. And with that, we are going to give you our first super chat video as soon as I can find it, because Derek is not very good at keeping things organized. So, and the Black Comic Hordes has some more bread to keep this thing going. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Angel Perry. Shout out to Chad Kinsler. Definitely enjoying Ultimate Black Panther.
Yeah.
Shout out to our boy Amir of 1 in 100 podcast. If you guys want to listen to a dope podcast, check out Amir's 1 in 100 podcast. All right. So, I mean, I don't even know where to start with this. Let me first start with the covers. Here's the original, basically cover A. You've got T'Challa, you got the Maker in the back. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar, I don't know if Mark mentioned this before I got back on. Ultimate Comics. What year did Ultimate Comics start? 2000?
Like around 05, 04, something like that.
Yeah, early 2000s. So Ultimate Comics was Marvel's attempt to sort of reboot the Marvel universe, or reimagine, I should say.
Right.
Reimagine the Marvel universe from a new lens, from a 21st century lens. What if we were to reinvent the Marvel universe from scratch, from the bottom up, but from the lens of the 21st century? And the first book was Spider-Man. And then, Ultimates came out. The Ultimates were their version of the Avengers. They had a Black Panther character, but it was not good. But ultimately, the Ultimate Universe is what formulated what Marvel Studios, or I guess Marvel at the time, they weren't even a studio yet, used to formulate the MCU. Much of the look of what you see, particularly in Phase 1, much of what you see in Phase 1 of the Marvel Universe really came from the Ultimate Comics book line.
Real quick, 2000. It started. Ultimate Spider-Man was 2000.
2000, yeah.
24 years ago.
Yeah. The biggest thing I can say about this book is we have been, and I say we, I mean us as fans of Black Panther have been struggling to see Black Panther stories the way we want them to be. No more he's being dragged, he's being deconstructed again. I mean, it's been like a decade of deconstructing the Black Panther almost at this point. Like, and we're tired of it. Like, we've seen there, we've been there, we've done that. He's been deconstructed, he's been built back up time and time again. Let's just get back to good storytelling. Let's just get back to him being a superhero. Let's just get back to him being a king. And that's what we're getting. And on top of all that, we're getting intrigue, we're getting action. This artwork by Stefano Caselli is incredible.
Spectacular.
Absolutely incredible. I mean,
We're getting new characters. We're getting new, interesting characters.
right.
People who I could see in the future. And we got, the way I look at it is we have two sets of new characters. You got Khonshu and Ra. And then you've got the two spies who work for T'Challa. I can't remember their names right off the top, but I believe that they are siblings to each other.
They look like they're twins or something.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I'm not sure exactly. But those characters seem very interesting. And Paul was talking about the deconstruction of T'Challa, and while he was talking, I was looking to see, when the volumes were released. And I'm not ashamed to say, and I've been saying every chance I get, that I was not a fan of the Ridley run. The Ridley run started 8 years ago. The Ridley run, I didn't mean that. I said that name. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Coates.
That's right. I said it in my last. All right, go ahead.
The Coates run began in 2016. So he's right. 2016 was 8 years ago. The last time that we had the Hudlin run was like around 2009, 2010. So that's been a decade and a half practically of seeing T'Challa in his own book the way that we like to see him. Not counting the Avengers and other appearances, because during Hickman's run of the Avengers, that's the type of T'Challa that we like to see, that we are accustomed to seeing. But on his own, we haven't seen the King the way we want since 2009, 2010.
Should we just jump to the most thing that made you? There's two major things that
do a spoiler thing. Do you have a spoiler?
We do. Because look, I got to be honest with you. We're gonna spoil the hell out this damn book tonight.
Typically, we don't talk about books that were released this week, but we make an exception for this book. So if you have not read Ultimate Black Panther #2, it's gonna be spoiled. Hopefully you have. If not, oh well.
Because we got to get into it.
Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Marion. Don't look at it, no matter what happens.
Don't look, man! Keep your eyes shut!
Two major things happen in this book. I'm gonna jump right into it. First thing, T'Challa decides to go visit what are they called? The Voodoo Con?
Voodoo Con, something like that, yeah.
Now here's the thing. Brian Edward Hill, the writer of this series, is from what I understand from the internets, he is a big fan of Dune, the Dune series, the books by why am I drawing a blank on the writer's name?
You're not talking about Doom War. You're talking specifically Doom?
Dune, D-U-N-E.
Dune. Got you.
Dune. Oh wow. I'm having a complete brain fart on his name. I don't know why. And I've read the book. All right. So anyway, big fan of Dune. The Voodoo Con remind me tremendous. Frank Herbert. Thank you, Frank Herbert. The Voodoo Con remind me tremendously of the Bene Gesserit, and T'Challa's interactions with them as king remind me of Paul Leto Atreides. Anyway, see the movie, read the books, what have you. But he goes to them. He doesn't trust them. I love the fact that Brian Edward Hill's introducing this mysticism portion of Wakanda, which Wakanda has this great history of mystical stuff that really doesn't get explored enough. And I'm loving that he's taking the opportunity to do that. And ultimately, she reveals a prophecy to him. And the prophecy is about him meeting a woman who will be intertwined with his future life. And that woman would ultimately bring him an heir.
Yep.
A woman of light will come to you. She is around you now. Fates intertwined. Between you, there is a bond made during a war. And she will give you an heir that Wakanda has waited for generations.
Now, here's the thing. He's married to Okoye. So his first thought is that, okay, my wife is the one who's going to be giving me my heir, which is the whole reason why royalty get married anyway, in order to
produce heirs,
pass on and keep the monarchy in your family, which is another reason why the Wakanda Forever didn't make sense with T'Challa having a bastard kid and sending him to some foreign third world country. That aside, Paul was talking about how this interaction reminded him of the Dune books. But for me, it reminded me of 300. And I've mentioned this before, how it reminded me of the E4s that King Leonidas went to go see. So that whole interaction, having to go, talk to the mystics and not necessarily feeling or thinking that they have your best interests at heart, that definitely reminded me of that more than anything. But, T'Challa is saying that he's thinking that it's going to be his wife that gives him an heir, but not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast. Not so fast. So that's a big revelation. For many of us who are fans of the character of T'Challa, we're big fans of the Reggie Hudlin run and those issues where they were married in issue 18. And we harp on this every week. And I know some of you who are not Black Panther fans or just marginally Black Panther fans are probably tired of hearing us harping on this. But understand, if you were fans pre-2016, where many people became fans with Captain America Civil War of Black Panther, if you're an old-time fan like Mark and I, who were around when Reggie Hudlin had that run, you understand its significance in the totality of the circumstances of that marriage, because Reggie Hudlin turned Marvel on its ear and wrote T'Challa as an A1 character. He wrote their marriage.
T'Challa and Storm.
Huh?
He wrote T'Challa and Storm as A1
characters. Right. And he wrote their marriage, their union, as the most significant event in Marvel history at that time.
Okay.
And it was cool. Fanboys met. You can't make them more important than Sue and Reed Richards. You can't make him richer than Tony Stark. You can't make him as smart as Reed and Dr. Doom. You can't have them be that significant that the Galactus shows up to their wedding and says,
Galactus, Watcher.
I'm sorry, I said Galactus. I meant the Watcher show up at their wedding and go, yeah, this is a pretty big deal. Y'all don't know.
And one of the things that Paul and I keep saying on a regular, consistent basis in this space is that if you've been reading comic books as long as he and I have, and we're talking, for me at least, 45 plus years, there is a decided lack of Black love in comic books.
Like super love.
You have Peter Parker and Mary Jane and Felicia Hardy and Betty Brant and whoever he decides to bang that week. You've got Clark and Lois. You've got Reed and Sue. You've got Scott and Jean Grey, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. You don't have that when it comes to Black superhero characters. This was our opportunity to have Black love in a superhero box that would last, hopefully, as long as Reed and Sue have been together. Because understand, they're the first family of Marvel. They've been together for literally 60 years. And we had T'Challa and Storm together for 5, maybe
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
I mean, and the way that it was done, the way that they broke them up, we've said it before in Avengers versus X-Men, it was just so haphazard, and the impact of it was significant, but the way that it was done, it was just like one panel, and it made no sense when you read it.
Yeah.
So
It was a lot of it was a lot of politics at the time, when AVX, Avengers versus X-Men, took place, because Marvel was fighting with 20th Century Fox over the rights to the X-Men.
right.
So Avengers versus X-Men was a product of that feud. Understand the context of the times, because people like to say stuff on the internet like they were never meant to be together, they were put together, it would seem so contrived. It was not. It was not. If you read the comics, you know that the history of that dates back to Marvel Team Up 100.
From
Priest,
1982, 83, something like
yeah,
that.
a Priest mentioned the fact that they were interested in each other in his run back in 1999. There was a lot of history there. So anyway, the breakup, people are like, oh yeah, T'Challa broke up with her. It was so foul. Understand. These negative things that happen to Storm and T'Challa are usually always done by writers with some level of agenda, or at the behest of Marvel's agenda. The agenda at the time, I'm not talking about some conspiracy nut type tinfoil hat agenda. It's a pretty blatant, well-documented, logical agenda Marvel had at the time.
It's about money.
It was about money. 20th Century Fox would not give Marvel back the rights to the X-Men. And as a result, the X-Men were had a very successful movie franchise. This was before the MCU.
The first X-Men movie was like 2000, 2001, right around the time that Spider-Man came out. So
yeah, I mean, Spider-Man was owned by Sony. And 20th Century Fox had the X-Men.
Those two
and
movies
they wouldn't share money.
Those two movies specifically is what has led to the past 24, 25 years of comic book related material. Because understand, prior to that, you have to go all the way back to 1978 when the first Richard Donner Superman was released. Now, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever, you had superhero serials at the movie theater. You'd go back every week and watch it, blah, blah, blah. Then you had the, campy Batman series of the 1960s. But Richard Donner in 1978 with Christopher Reeve, God rest his soul, and Marlon Brando made comic book fare serious and enjoyable. And watching that movie, you could believe a man could fly, because the technology then was not like it is now. And so then that was in 77, 78. You didn't have another real superhero product outside of Superman until you had the Tim Burton Batman in 1989.
Yeah.
1 and 2 were extremely well done. They were dark, they were gritty, they weren't as fantastical as what has come after that. But those are the type of things that got us on the path that we are today. And I just saw a comment that said you have to throw Blade in there too, and that's absolutely correct. Blade came out in 1997, 1998.
98.
And, it got people. I didn't give a damn about Blade prior to seeing Wesley Snipes on the screen. And quite frankly, I don't even know if I knew about the comic book character. But Wesley being the it guy of the 1990s, one of an A-list star, he made the character cool. The movie made over $100 million, which in today's money wouldn't be considered a lot, because we're accustomed to movies making $1 billion. But for 1998 money, he did an extremely good job. Now, after that happened, you had movie makers saw, okay, well, you know what, we can get these comic book movies and make some money. Then you had X-Men in 2000. Then you had Spider-Man around 2001, and it just has snowballed into where we are today and what we have today.
So understand. Yeah. Marvel had this beef with 20th Century Fox. They couldn't beef with Sony over Spider-Man because Spider-Man is Marvel's guy. I mean, that's their main
One of their
character.
most important.
That's their most important character. You can't get rid of Spider-Man. You can put him through hell. You can make him break up with his wife and have a one more day storyline where a brand new day storyline where their marriage no longer exists, which happened. But they couldn't get rid of Spider-Man. They took the axe to the X-Men. So you have Avengers versus X as a storyline. And at the end of that storyline, Marvel literally put the X-Men in limbo. I'm not talking figuratively, like they just put them in abeyance. They literally took the X-Men and put them in the limbo universe, ruled by magic, just to sideline the characters. And who do they put to replace the X-Men? Because Marvel can be petty. The Inhumans, characters nobody cared about.
Hold on, let me stop you. Let me stop you. I am an Inhumans fan. I have every volume of Inhumans. I have every issue of every volume of Inhumans. I am a Jack Kirby fan. God rest his soul. Pretty much everything that he has created, the New Gods over in DC, the Inhumans, and all that other stuff. I am a fan. I know I'm in the minority. I get it. I understand that. But I am a fan of the Inhumans. Cool. Let me just throw that out there.
All right. So Mark and 15 other people are fans of the Inhumans, but literally millions of people are fan of the X titles.
Correct.
They took all the X characters and put them in limbo, decimated them, what have you, and sidelined them. They then did a big push, and this is a larger point. Just follow me on this. These obscure Inhuman characters who really hadn't been in comics all that much in probably a decade or more, all of a sudden, the Inhumans are getting a major promotional push by Marvel, right? You had all these new characters pop up, and that's where characters like Ms. Marvel came from, Moon Girl came from, Mosaic came from, all Inhuman, Quake, all Inhuman characters come out of this wellspring of Marvel's push to make the Inhumans relevant, right? So when we get into these arguments and debates about, well, this book doesn't sell, or black comics don't sell, or black characters don't sell, it's not true. It's I mean, Marvel can make whomever they want popular.
Yep.
They can promote whomever they want to make them popular. They made the Inhumans popular, so much so that they got a television series which sucked, and they were very prominently featured in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television series when the MCU finally got started. Yep. Marvel still didn't have rights to the X-Men at the time, so they made the X-Men the replacements to the Inhumans, the replacements to the X-Men in their MCU pocket universe of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's how petty Marvel is, but that's also how powerful they are.
Let me just interject this. And I said Inhumans, and I am a fan of Inhumans, but when I said that, I meant Eternals. I'm a huge fan of the Eternals, but understand Jack Kirby, who was the creator of all these, he created several different superpowered individuals who were part of a collective. He created...
There's two more Inhuman fans. There's 17 of you.
Right.
Amir and Def Rocker.
He created the Inhumans. He created the Eternals for Marvel. And he created the fourth world where we have Darkseid over in DC. So all of those characters are somewhat similar and the storylines are somewhat similar. So I just wanted to correct the record. I am a fan of the Inhumans, but when I was talking about I have every issue of every volume, I meant the Eternals. But looking at my CLZ app, there haven't been a lot of Inhumans volumes. There have been about 6 or 7 Eternals. But the very first Inhumans volume was in 1975. Volume 2 came out in 93. So it's not like, these characters were on the shelves on a regular, consistent basis. They would pop up in the Avengers. They would pop up in the Fantastic Four because Johnny Storm was dating at a certain point one of the royal family of the Inhumans.
Crystal.
But as a collective, they weren't, as Paul just said, they weren't really anywhere to be found. So after that split with whoever it was that owns the X-Men on for
20th
live
Century
action,
Fox.
20th Century Fox, they wanted to push what was under their umbrella, and that, was the Inhumans. And unfortunately, they didn't get the credit that they deserved on screen, because I've not seen a second of the Inhumans, but I heard it sucked. And that's a shame, because they are some very interesting characters.
Yeah. So let's circle this back to the comic that we're talking about. So we just realized, so I told you a couple of significant things happened. The first one was the revelation that T'Challa is supposed to have a child with the Woman of Light. And that child will be the heir to Wakanda that Wakanda's been looking for. The next revelation that we had was that, and this is where we get into the storytelling, the brilliant writing of Brian Edward Hill, about the intrigue happening. Mark mentioned the fact that we're getting new characters and we're getting new looks, we're getting new villains. One of the villains hasn't even been revealed yet. We know that one of the villains apparently is a traitor to Wakanda, someone who is close enough to provide the main antagonist, the Moon Knight collective, insider information on Wakanda. We still don't know who this person is. You still can't even quite tell if this person is male or female.
That looks like a female to me, but that's just
I think I'm getting female vibes, but I didn't want to.
But that's just an avatar, so you don't know. I'm gonna give you a spoiler. You know who I think it is? For some reason, I think it's Shuri. I think it's Shuri.
I thought about that because
I just think it's Shuri.
I know in solicits they've revealed that Shuri is going to be on the throne. If you look at your pre-orders, you see Shuri's going to be on the throne. So that would be a logical assumption that it's actually Shuri. But I don't know. I get the feeling it's Okoye. Don't ask me why.
I wonder if White Wolf is going to make an appearance in this.
That would be interesting.
Because that would make sense for him to be on the outside looking in, being a traitor.
The other thing is, in the first issue, they introduced a new Dora Milaje, because in this universe, this Ultimate Universe, Okoye is no longer head of the Dora Milaje. She became queen, and so now she's just like an advisor to the Dora Milaje. The Dora Milaje is now being run by a new person who was introduced in the first issue. Let me see if I can bring that person, find that issue, and bring that up. Hold on a second.
While he's doing that, though, one of the things that we've said in this space previously, especially during the very last run, not the current run, but the last run of Black Panther in 616, was how T'Challa was not respected. What I loved about this book is, first off, T'Challa shows up in his Panther mobile, which is kind of cool. I don't know that we've ever seen this design before. But then when he appears, his subjects genuflex, right? That's what you would expect of this. Look at him. Now, I don't like the mask because I don't like that his chin is out. That's supposed to be protection, and that's a weak spot, so that doesn't make sense to me. But the uniform itself is great, and the respect that he's shown by his subjects is what you would expect him to be receiving. So, yeah, I really like that. I really like that.
I'm trying to find this.
That outfit's fire.
His outfit is kind of fly, though. I ain't gonna joke.
But I just don't like his chin being out, because that's a vulnerability, and that doesn't make sense.
Ah, here it is. So this is who I think the traitor is. Just made a very brief appearance in the first issue. Bene, Captain of Arms of the Dora Milaje, a brand new character. A brand new character, just for this Ultimate Universe. But she's the new head of the Dora Milaje. And she's having this discussion with Shuri, where Shuri's like, feels like you, Dora Milaje, could be doing more. And she's like, beyond Wakanda, you mean? And she's like, you want the outside world to know us. And it's kind of like Shuri's got a bit of a division with her brother over how Wakanda should be. Should they interact with the outside world? The Dora Milaje kind of want to go to war. And this woman is the new head of the Dora Milaje. So if the Dora Milaje feel like they wish to go to war, what better way than to usurp the king, put the person who you think agrees with you, Shuri, on the throne, so that that person will go ahead and allow you to go to war.
But see,
So
that's why I think it's Shuri herself. That's why
I think it's this woman. I think she's the one. She's the puppet master pulling the strings, who's going to put Shuri on the throne in the hopes that the Dora Milaje can go to war, to have that war that they want.
Here, I hear you and I understand, but here's the way I'm looking at it. She's a soldier, and when it comes to military, active duty military individuals, they are loyal to, more often than not, they are loyal to their chain of command. So I don't necessarily think she would go behind her king's back and try to usurp him. That's why I think it's Shuri who someone has more to gain by being in control outside of her brother who she disagrees with. Then when you look at and understand something also, whoever this individual is, they're having secure communications with this outside group. Of the two, who has the technological skill to have surreptitious conversations with an outside group? I think it's Shuri.
Yeah, but Shuri's sharing her technology with the Dora Milaje. T'Challa mentions that a few times.
I think
so she might have just gotten the technology from Shuri. But yeah, I mean that's quite credible too.
Yep.
All right, so there's one more major revelation.
Yep.
Let
me just interject this before the revelation that you go into, which is on the last panel. T'Challa is okay. So they know that somebody has invaded Wakandan space, and they're looking at an electronic map. Think about Star Wars when they're trying to figure out how they're going to bomb the Death Star. So you've got this 3D image of a map, and so those twins who are their spies are saying, "Okay, there's something hinky going on this part of Wakanda. It needs to be investigated." They wanted to go. T'Challa made the decision to go by himself. That doesn't make sense. I understand that he is a hero. I understand that he's a badass. But for him to go to this area and alone was illogical. So that's the only issue that I'll have with this particular issue on how Brian Edward Hill had T'Challa acting. I don't think a wise ruler would go off to the unknown without backup, without support.
Well, it ended up not being a good idea for him.
Yep.
As soon as he showed up, it was a
like
trap.
They were expecting him.
It was a trap. Classic Star Wars style. It's a trap. They start shooting him. Obviously, his suit, I guess that answers the question what a suit's made out of. It's deflecting the vibranium, but it's certainly taking its toll on the dude.
Except his chin and teeth.
Except his chin, because he's covering that with his hands. If you see,
right. So that doesn't make sense. That's the second thing, and I have issues. So those things.
But it goes back to the fact that having the open mouth thing doesn't make a lot of sense battle wise, because he's got to cover his face to keep himself from getting shot
in the face.
In the face. And then who comes to his rescue? A beam of light comes down and takes away the bad guys.
Lightning.
And finally, we have our woman of light.
No matter the universe, I don't care. Storm and T'Challa. Let me rephrase that. Aurora Monroe and T'Challa, Black Panther and Storm, need to be together forever. I will say this to my dying day. Brian Edward Hill recognizes it, even though she, in this book, in issue 1, is paired up, it seems, romantically with Killmonger. She comes to the King's defense, and she's a being of light. He's going to end up knocking her up. She's going to have the air. Storm and Black Panther together forever.
There's only 2 more issues. All that going to happen in 2 issues?
So it's only 4 issues. That sucks. Oh, that sucks. So what do you think about this look of Storm? The physical look. What do you think?
Let me say this. I'm a big fan of Storm. She's also one of my favorite superheroes of all time. as a bit long-time X-Men reader. She's what got me into X-Men. One thing that's always been a point of contention with Storm fans is her hair. Her hair is a big issue,
Yeah.
particularly among women fans.
I wish you could pull up that panel when the Thing thought she had a weave or whatever. That was funny. That was really funny.
You know, Storm's hair has always been a point of contention, particularly amongst women fans. Oftentimes she's drawn by people that are not us. And it's always been a point of contention that she's got this long, flowing white hair, which doesn't seem to have any basis in how the majority of what we think of as black hair. So whenever I see an artist take recognition of that fact and put some texture in the sister's hair, I appreciate that. I want to see Storm with Afro puffs. I want to see Storm with cornrows. I want to see Storm with, you know, some texture in her hair, some curls. And I love to see Storm with locks. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it.
As Paul is saying that, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how a lot of us of a certain generation's opinions of these characters are formulated comes not only from the comic books, but from the X-Men cartoon of the 1990s. What was that, 92, 93, whenever that first dropped? And that's what I have in my mind's eye, in my mind's ear, when I read these books. I hear those voice actresses who voice Storm when I'm reading these, when I'm reading her on the pages. All due respect to Halle Berry, who I love. I think she's a wonderful person. But it goes for me that she was a bad choice to play that role. She didn't have an accent. They never got her wig right. It was just bad. So hopefully the next time that they do bring the character live action, they take all of this stuff into contention and she's more in line with what's on the page and what was on the cartoon.
Brian Hill mentioned on Comic Pal's interview, this is ongoing. Ultimate Black Panther is ongoing? I've never heard that. We'll see. I mean, it's possible. It's quite possible because the Ultimate Comics was ongoing. Ultimate Comics went on for a decade, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Ultimate Comics was going on for a while.
Ultimate Spider-Man had 2 volumes.
Yeah.
At least 2 volumes.
And then when you think about the logic of what did Peach Momoko design the Ultimate Universe Storm? I believe she did. If you go with the logic, now this is where I do put on my conspiratorial hat to some degree. Let me start with the facts. Marvel has clearly been sidelining the Black Panther for the last few years. When they made the decision not to recast the character in the MCU, they had to double down on that very stupid, dumb, idiotic, emotional, non-business decision to sideline the character. But as I predicted 2 years ago, and I said, the MCU leads the comics. What they do in the MCU will at some point have to trickle down into the comics because the comics are just the promotional material in Marvel at this point for the MCU. So if he's dead in the MCU, they got to do something with him in the comics. Not necessarily kill him, but they got to do something to sideline the guy so that they can go forward this narrative of the mantelization of the Black Panther character, so they can make Wakanda the larger issue, the larger character, and put the mantle of the Black Panther on other people, so it can de-emphasize the importance of 55 years of T'Challa's history. So the Ultimate Universe provides the salve for Black Panther fans like us, because it's a pocket universe. It technically doesn't exist. It's not part of canon. So whoever chooses to write, like Brian Edward Hill in the Ultimate Universe, your imagination can run wild. You can do whatever you want because technically there's no consequences for the 616, the main Marvel line, and certainly no consequences for the MCU. So it's I'm kind of torn on it because on the one hand, it's kind of dope to be able to have a writer actually do whatever the hell they want with the character and make logical decisions, not based on a corporate head saying, we got to sell more toys or we got to do stuff that's consistent with what our plans for the movie, written by and controlled by people that aren't even into comics. But it has no really sort of consequences. I guess at the end of the day, if you're a comic head, if you enjoy comics, not because of spec value, but because you just like reading cool stories, dope stories, as Rich would say, you're all here for it. You're here for the Ultimate line. If they decide to make this an ongoing series, I'm cool with it. Because the question is this: would you rather have a Brian Edward Hill ongoing Ultimate story, or would you rather have the character dragged in the main continuity by guys like He Who Shall Not Be Named? I know I have never read a second time any of those of the line from He Shall Not Be Named, but I've certainly reread a couple times these Ultimate Black Panther comics by Brian.
And I've not reread Coates' volume. I know that we have started when we don't have Black Panther content to talk about. Right now we're focusing on the Priest run, but in the past we've also looked at the Hudlin run, we looked at the Kirby run. But there is nothing that has occurred in the pages of Black Panther over the past 8 to 10 years that would make me want to pick up the storyline and read it again, because he's just not been done well. All due respect to Dr. Ewing, because she's still in the midst of doing her thing. But, the previous two writers before Dr. Ewing, nothing about their storytelling has led me to want to revisit those particular stories. I'd much rather pick up Hickman's run of Avengers with T'Challa in it that led up to Secret War and reread that.
Afro Ions Comics makes a really cool statement. If Ultimate Black Panther is popular, it will influence the movies. Now, remember what I started out with.
That makes sense.
The Ultimate
that's
Comics
what movies are based on was the Ultimate Universe.
The MCU was based on the Ultimate Universe. And what's Marvel going through right now? They're not doing well.
Nope.
They have tapped the well of their comics. And then they went astray and said, we're going to diverge from the comics and do our own thing in the MCU. How's that worked out for them? Not well. So it would be cool to see them ultimately reboot the MCU, which I think that's everyone knows that's kind of the game plan, because these actors, they get older, the contracts get too enlarged. They've got to reboot with fresh actors, fresh whatever, and get people back interested in the MCU. If they reboot the universe, here's your Black Panther story right here. Brian Edward Hills just wrote it for you. If they reboot the Cursed Blade movie, he's certainly written the script for a decent Blade movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In the pages of the Blade book. And when we say that the MCU, the live action version of these characters, is based on the Ultimate line, the main way that you can see that is Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson plays Nick Fury. Well, the character was white for 60 years until the Ultimates book in the Ultimate Universe, which was their version of the Avengers, was drawn as a black man who resembled Samuel L. Jackson. And if my understanding, if I remember correctly, the writers and artists went to Sam back in 2004, 5, whenever it was, like, can we use your image and likeness? And I think he gave the okay with the stipulation that if this character is brought live action, I got to play him. And they are where we see them. So, and another thing is, when Tony Stark was first introduced as Iron Man in comics in Marvel 616, he was injured in the Vietnam War. Well, we're 50 years past that at this point. So in the comics, when he was injured, when they rebooted it, during the extremist storyline around that time frame, he was injured during in the
Desert
Middle
Storm.
East. In the Middle East. And for those who don't know, back in 1991, which was a long time ago now, when you think about it, it was like what, 33 years ago? Something like that.
I can't do math. So
I can't do math. Right. But
That's why we
basically,
became lawyers.
we have been fighting in the Middle East since 1991. And so Tony Stark live action being injured in the Middle East or North Africa was based on what happened in the comic books when they relaunched the character of Iron Man Tony Stark, because it didn't make, because all of these characters, quite frankly, should be in their 80s or 90s, at least 70s, right? But in order to keep them ongoing, they have to reconfigure things from time to time, and that's what they did when it came to that character.
Real quick, we got a bunch of people watching us right now. If you're liking the content, if you're liking the show, first of all, if you're new to the show, welcome. We do this every Friday.
Most Fridays.
Usually, for the most part, unless life takes its course. Please hit the like button. And if you're really digging the show, please subscribe to the channel, because we've got a lot of content. It's not just our show. We've got a few other shows that are equally great. And we'd love to have you watch us and watch the content. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell next to the subscribe channel button, and then you'll be notified when we're going to come on, because sometimes it's hard to advertise because we have day jobs. But I wanted to get into some of these comments. Armistead Guatney, what's up, my boy?
That was a glaring omission, yeah.
We still don't know what's happened to his mother. It's not even a mention.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, whether it be Naomi, his original mother,
right, or Ramonda,
his stepmother who raised him.
And see, that's the thing that we don't know, is if T'Challa and Shuri are full blood brother and sister. Now,
right.
my sisters have a different father. We weren't half anything. Those are my sisters or whatever. And in the MCU, that's how T'Challa and Shuri acted. But we know that they have different mothers. So it'd be interesting to know in the Ultimate Universe if that is in fact the case. And number two, the fact that the king abdicated to the benefit of his son. That's something that typically doesn't happen in monarchies. You'll find that the monarch will be on the throne until he or she dies. Look at Queen Elizabeth. She was 90-something years old when she finally kicked the bucket. Charles was in his 70s when he finally became the king. At any point in time, she could have gave up the throne and said, okay, you know what? I've been on the throne for longer than any English monarch ever. Let me go ahead and let Charles, because he is the future. She didn't do that. So the fact that Brian Edward Hill has allowed that to happen, I find interesting. And I'd be interested to know why he made that decision.
Well, it'd be cool if we can interview him someday. Armistead Guatney says, I wonder what Aurora calls herself. Storm is the name the professor gave her, isn't it? Yeah, that was his code name that he gave her. In the first issue, Killmonger had referred to her as the Wind Rider. So that's all we know about her so far.
Right. And that's one of the names that she goes by in 616 as well.
Yeah. She's often referred to as Wind Rider. Once in Future says, I think T'Challa went alone to draw out the spy and mitigate the risk. Now that would be good writing.
You can at least taken one or two people with him. I mean, I understand the concept of what you're saying, Once in Future, but that was just an illogical, tactical mistake on his part.
Yeah. All right, so that's Ultimate Black Panther #2. I mean, I'm enjoying this book so damn much. I might read it again tonight.
Yep.
I mean, it went by so fast. I have to count the pages. Was it actually 22 pages? Like
it was 5.
Seemed like,
it was 5.
25?
No, 5.
It was 5 pages. That's what it felt like. I mean, there were 5 major scenes in the book. We went over 3 of them, and it went by so fast.
The story is phenomenal. The book is phenomenal, and there's something that we're now doing at the end, our book of the week. But it's a pretty strong chance that this is going to be my book of the week.
And now we have a super chat from Wiseacre Comics. Great discussion and show. We need your voices and definitely appreciate what you do for the indie community. Marvel has to reboot the MCU. What would be the best storyline for the reboot? Well,
there are a lot of, hold on, there's a lot of different characters. So you're trying to say, well, Secret Wars is supposedly coming.
yeah.
And so once Secret Wars comes, then they can supposedly reset and start over again from scratch.
Specifically,
and so it would be the question then would be, well, what stories of each character would you want to see brought to live action? You know, and what characters would you want to see?
Specifically, when you refer to Secret Wars was a big event. We're not talking the original Marvel Comics Secret Wars, which, in my opinion, is the greatest crossover of all time. It's what got me into really hardcore and superhero comics. But the Secret Wars from 2015. Here's the thing. That wasn't by itself. There was a precursor to Secret Wars. It was New Avengers by John Hickman.
Yep.
Jonathan Hickman.
30 something issues.
I don't remember how many issues it was, but it was a while. Jonathan Hickman was the writer. I think he was writer of 2 books. He was writer of, wasn't he New Avengers and Avengers at the time?
I think he was on Fantastic Four, but I don't know if it was around the same
that was before. Okay. I think because New Avengers at that time was really a Black Panther book.
Yes.
It was Black Panther and the Illuminati, basically, is what it should have been called. But they called it New Avengers. Jonathan Hickman put so much respect on T'Challa's name in that book. It was ridiculous. Some of the most well-written scenes I've ever seen of the character. But that was a Jonathan Hickman event, the whole Secret Wars.
So that was 11 years ago. In 2013 is when it first dropped. New Avengers Volume 3.
Right. And then there was Avengers going on at the same time. The whole storyline revolved around the fact that all of these various multiverse, universe hopping, time travel was poking holes in the space-time continuum, so much so that the universes started to collapse in on each other. 2 universes would literally collide and be destroyed, and make room for the other universes. And
this was incorporated in the MCU in Doctor Strange, when Doctor Strange met the Illuminati and Mordo was talking about incursions. All this came from Jonathan Hickman, and it was a 33-issue run.
It was called Incursions. And in the New Avengers, the Illuminati are reformed. The Illuminati consists of the best and the brightest of the world, the kings of the world, basically. So you had Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Black Bolt. T'Challa was supposed to be one of the original members of the Illuminati and didn't do it. Namor.
Professor X, did you say?
Professor X, thank you. Professor X. There was an Avengers representative. Originally, it was going to be Captain America. His ideals were not suited for it, so they booted him out.
Yeah.
And so I think, let's see, who replaced him as an Avenger? I guess Iron Man. Iron Man. And then, and T'Challa ultimately joined and became leader of the Illuminati, and had them based out of the necropolis in Wakanda. And their idea was, hey, we understand that incursions are coming, and we need to do something about it, and we have to take drastic measures. We're going to have to destroy universes to save our universe. So the heroes became murderers on an unprecedented scale.
That's one of the things that folks really need to understand, and how important that is. You are, in comic books, a hero for most heroes outside of Thor and people who come from warrior cultures. You are a hero because you solve whatever the issue is without taking a life. Taking a life is easy, and that's one of the things over in DC in the Batman comic, who has never taken a life in comics, where it's so very easy to kill somebody. It's extremely easy. Trust me when I tell you. So in order for them,
Mark, don't admit to felonies on air, man.
For them not to kill on a regular, consistent basis is what makes them heroes. But if they want to exist, if they want Marvel 616 to continue to exist, they have to make extremely difficult choices by killing literally trillions, and I don't know what comes after trillions, but gazillions of entities in other universes just so their universe or their reality can continue to exist. And there is no halfway, there is no compromise. You either alive or you're not. Your universe either exists or it doesn't. And that was a decision that had to be made. And that's one of the issues why Steve Rogers would not be allowed to be in the Illuminati, because he is an extremely honorable man, and he's one who would always trying to find a way, no matter how unrealistic it is, to save lives. He's the type of individual, the real Steve Rogers, who would not tell a dear friend to go back to Africa.
Still bitter about that. Still bitter about that. So yeah. Long story short, they fail. They have no way of saving Earth, or not saving Earth, saving our universe. T'Challa builds a life raft. The purpose of which is to save who he can. Maybe how many people? 50 people? 100? It wasn't that many. He builds a life raft for people in the 616 universe. They get on the life raft. The incursion comes. Our universe is destroyed. But Dr. Doom somehow gains the power of a beyonder. Well, I shouldn't say beyonder. He gains the power of a god. Beyond the power of the Infinity Gauntlet, beyond the power of a beyonder, he is the power of all powers and knower of all knowing. He gets his power from Molecule Man. Nobody knows this. And so that's where the story Secret Wars came in. And Secret Wars gets more complicated because there's different worlds that are created by Doom that exemplify the various aspects of the Marvel universe.
You got to read this. You got to read Secret Wars to understand.
I can't summarize it because it's so expansive. Right. But suffice it to say, different worlds are created that all represent different aspects of the Marvel universe. And at the end of the day,
actually,
huh?
Planet Earth, because
this
revolves around Planet Earth. It's not anything to do with any other, galaxy spanning empire or anything of that nature. It's all Earth based.
So at the end of the day, in the final issues, two important things happen. Not just in the final issues. Two important things happen in the Secret Wars storyline. In I think it's the very first issue, maybe, T'Challa is seen in Wakanda with a group of young people, best and brightest of Wakanda, future astronauts. And he's thinking about, you know what? My mother, Naomi, his real mother, his birth mother, was a scientist. And he's like, one of the things my mother wanted to do, she always wanted to find out where our vibranium mound came from, because vibranium was a meteorite that landed in Wakanda. But where did that meteor come from? Vibranium has some origin somewhere in space, but we don't know where it comes from. I want to send an expedition. That was my mom's dream, to send an expedition out in space to go explore where vibranium comes from. So he gets these best and brightest young people, and he's talking to them. He's like, you're the best, you're the brightest, and you're the future of Wakanda. And I have a plan for you. And all of a sudden, these aliens from a different incursion universe come in and kill all the kids. And that's what starts T'Challa to join the Illuminati and realize the incursions are coming, etc. So at the end of Secret Wars, T'Challa and Namor go up against Doom to try, because Doom is the one who's causing all of this, is in control of all this. T'Challa gets the Infinity Gauntlet and puts it on. There's not a whole lot of people who've ever put on the Infinity Gauntlet in Marvel Comics beyond Thanos. T'Challa puts on the Infinity Gauntlet and is able to use it. And before that, in like issue 7 or 8, T'Challa, who is king of the dead, summons the dead as an army to fight Doom's forces. that's not relevant to the larger point, but it's cool, so I wanted to mention it. But in issue 9, he goes up against Doom. He's using the Infinity Gauntlet. Superpower versus superpower, omnipower versus omnipower. T'Challa knows he's going to lose, but he's got a plan. He's a distraction. The real plan he made with Reed Richards is for Reed Richards to try and find the source of Doom's power, which turns out to be Molecule Man in a pocket universe. And Reed Richards managed to reach Molecule Man and gets him to turn off Doom's power. But right before T'Challa's about to die, he takes the final stone of the Infinity Gauntlet. I think it's the Reality Gem, maybe. And he decides to reformulate the 616 universe. The one that we're reading right now, if you're reading Marvel Comics. T'Challa reforms it because it's been destroyed. He reforms it from scratch. And when the universes come back, we have a new 616 universe that was formed by T'Challa by using the Infinity Gauntlet. And in issue 9 of Secret Wars, because, I forgot a very important point. Part of Secret Wars, the 2 final universes that existed was the 616 and the 1610 universes. The 1610 universe is the Ultimate Comics universe that we were just talking about. The same Ultimate Comics that we were talking about earlier on from 2000 and what did you say year was, Mark?
Well, the Ultimate started with Ultimate Spider-Man in 2000.
Yeah, so that same universe from 2000 and the 616 universe, our Marvel regular continuity, were the only 2 universes left. T'Challa, that universe gets destroyed. T'Challa saves, when he reformats the 616 universe, I don't know what's going through his mind, how much powerful he is because he's omniscient, because he's got the Infinity Gauntlet. He plucks Miles Morales out of the 616 universe, and he never met him before. I don't know how this happened. And puts them in the 616 universe. At the end of issue 9 of Secret Wars, Miles Morales is brought from the 1610 Ultimate Universe into our 616 universe. And his family is made whole because I think his mother had died in the 1610 universe. So people don't realize the significance of Secret Wars number 9 because that's the first issue in which Miles Morales was actually brought into Marvel Comics in the 616 universe. Very significant issue. And also at the end of that issue, when T'Challa recreated the 616 universe, he also brought those same young Wakandans, astronauts, the brilliant kids, and he brings them back. And he sends them off in a rocket ship into space to go find the source of vibranium. Those same children later on, in the Coates run, this volume 2 of the Coates run, were found to have traveled in a wormhole, which set them, I guess, into the future in a different dimension, however you want to phrase it. And those astronauts formulated the intergalactic empire of Wakanda that Coates wrote about. And that's where it came from. It actually started in the Secret Wars book. So when you ask Wiseacre Comics what route Marvel could take, that would be cool, but that's as long as it took me to explain that to you. Imagine putting that into a 2-hour movie.
You, bruh, you went into the weeds like Jesus.
I'm
Christ.
sorry. I'm a black comic lord. We go deep.
That was my goodness. But all that, you take a break, take a drink of water, because that was a lot of fucking words.
Yeah, we got to go into these other comics. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry.
That aside, so hold on. So that aside, the whole idea of the Secret Wars, where you have the combining of these 2 different universes, that's where the maker from at the beginning of the new Ultimate books, Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, and Black Panther, on the very first page, you hear about the maker. That's what they're talking about that came from that aspect of the old universe. And the maker is basically a different universe, Reed Richards, who wants to get back to the way things were before.
Mighty Mr. J says, I've read a theory that Vodou Khan will be revealed to be Queen Ramonda.
That would be interesting.
That'd be a twist. Hey, Chillmonger's in the building. I hope Storm Solo Series has a win writer.
I don't know what that means.
Uh, Chillmonger said that, for many of the black titles, they don't have star writers on them
Gotcha. Yeah,
that have followings that can help a book
yeah,
become popular.
yeah.
Jay says Brian Hill wrote on X that he may know someone who's experienced with Blade that they can call to write the film while having the film's logo reposted. I don't know what that means. It's paced damn near perfectly, very well written and well drawn. With regard
So
to
I'm assuming we're talking about Ultimate Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Afro Irons
That
Comics
was
says,
very good.
I'm going to reread Black Panther Unconquered too. Brian Everett Hill does superb work. Yes.
He does.
Really would love to interview that guy. That was great, and he was able to save those Wakanda kids, which is his ultimate goal. Yes, indeed. Is it too early to ask where the ultimate Black Panther suit ranks
It's
in
cool.
Black Panther suits?
For me personally, I'm old school. Although it wasn't vibranium, I like the old school, no mouth. Well, it's covered with the white eyes, short cape. I like that one a lot. I understand
I've never dug
whatever,
the cape.
but I like that one a lot.
I've never dug the cape. The priest run cape was way too long.
Like the one behind you. Yeah, that's the one that I like. I like that uniform.
Yeah.
That's my number one. This one is up there, but the fact that his mouth is out doesn't make sense. So it's gonna be down the list because that's just stupid. Like, why would his mouth be out?
It's just I don't find it practical. I mean, it's a different look and
not
everything, but it's just not practical. Armistead says, wondering how we got stuck with 3 Nick Furies. 3.
White one, Sam Jackson, and then Nick Fury Jr. I guess is what he means.
Oh, yeah, technically. Chillmonger says it was about coats. Of course, that was wordy. It was actually more about Hickman. Hickman's the one who wrote a very complicated story because Wind Rider sounds like Wind Rider. It's clever things. All right, so listen, we're going to take a short commercial break. Go ahead and use the bathroom, get a drink before we get into these other reads of the week. Which commercial am I playing? I don't even know. I haven't even pulled that up. I'll figure something out. Dr. Wizard makes things incredibly difficult for me on purpose, just to embarrass me in these moments like we're having right now. But still, we persevere.
Dear Mr. Billy Graham, I know this letter is late, but you know what they say, better late than never. And I'm writing to you because I know you'll never read this or hear this. It's a measure of therapy for me, I guess. Wondering how you never get mentioned when you are really only one of the few worth mentioning. After all, I don't think Sam and Dave had you in mind, but without question, you are a soul man. How else can you explain how a man can draw tears so well if he never shed any tears of his own? Yes, and I hear music, especially drums, when I see jungle action panels. And when I see Luke Cage panels, I hear the jukebox blaring out horns in the after hours joint. I guess I'm trying to say, Mr. Graham, that I dig your style, and you deserve to be celebrated like the heroes you drew. Like I said, you won't see or hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Thank you, Mr. Billy Graham. You are a Black history legend. Respectfully, the Black Comic Lords. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, peace.
What's up, y'all? Billy used to sing about southern trees bearing strange fruit, while Paul Laurence Dunbar explains that we should wear the mask to conceal our tears and sighs, while they hide behind bedsheet hoods, being up to no good. Spawn issue 30 is about Al Simmons finding himself in the Deep South, asking forgiveness from an ex-wife. Love be like that sometime. Anyway, Spawn finds himself in the middle of clan country. And I guess this night they gave the cross the night off and decided to burn down a brother's property. Spawn walks up on this and the man immediately takes him for an enemy. But you know that old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, Spawn spins a yarn for the brother to let him know that he's had his share of dealing with Mr. Charlie and sellouts, namely his boy Terry, who just so happens to be with his ex-wife. But that's another story for another day. So Spawn goes looking for trouble, dressed in clan robes, and he finds himself swinging from one of those southern trees that Billy was singing about. But you know, you can't kill someone that's already dead. And let's just say Spawn exacts his revenge for the brother he met and for himself by an unmasking of his own. So check it out. If you like the video, please share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thanks for watching. Peace.
What's up, comic fam? It's your boy Paul with an exclusive look at a dope new section of our blackcomiclords.net website. Head to the site, click on Black Indie Comics for your selection of the dopest black comics around. And if you're a black comic creator and you want to be added to the site, send us your link with a copy of your logo so we can add it in there. But be patient. We're getting there. We're getting there. Much respect to all of you. And now we're into the reads of the week.
So going back to the little commercial or whatever, I really like the jungle action version of T'Challa's costume without the cape. The cape should be ceremonial, but walking around every day, the one that was in jungle action, I really like that uniform. Just wish it was made out of something other than cloth, because Killmonger was giving him hell on a regular, consistent basis. If it was made out of vibranium, not so much. But yeah, I like the aesthetics of that one.
Yeah, I mean, T'Challa got his ass kicked a lot in jungle action.
A lot. But it made sense, though. It wasn't, you know, he was going up against somebody who was a powerful fighter, but it's not like he was just, I don't know how to explain it. The way it has been done recently felt differently. Getting knocked on his tail while wearing a vibranium suit from a dude riding a buffalo just did not sit right with my soul. But
no, what was worse is when he was getting his ass kicked by Sam Wilson while Sam Wilson was wearing a football jersey.
Hoodie, not a hoodie, but a baseball jersey or a hockey jersey or something. Yeah. But
that was absurd.
Aside,
that was absolutely absurd.
Right.
Again, as I said, sidelining the character T'Challa.
T'Challa's our dude and everything, but you know, back in the day, he would get handled. But reads of the week, Mace Windu. I like the book.
Is that the first one?
Yeah.
No. You're jumping ahead. All right, that's fine. You're not going in alphabetical order, but that's fine.
Yeah. So what would you have before this?
It was going to be Star Trek. Star Trek's before Star Wars.
Okay, so I'm going by Mace Windu, not Star Wars, but okay.
All right. With that logic understood, we'll do. It's technically Star Wars Mace Windu, but I'll roll with it. Let's go.
All right. So I like the book. The art is cool. I'm not a huge fan of the art, but I do like the art. I do like the storytelling. You know, one of the things that we didn't get, and you don't really get this about any of the Jedi in the movies outside of Anakin, we don't know more often than not what worlds the Jedi hail from, right? Mm-hmm. They are just there, fully formed characters who have been in the order for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What I like about this is that we get some idea, without giving any spoilers, of Mace Windu's background.
Right.
So in issue 1, Mace is on the hunt for this substance that somebody is trying to sell. And if they sell this substance, it could be bad for the Republic. So he's trying to intervene, as Jedi are wont to do, in order to keep peace, keep stability. So he's working with this chick who's basically a smuggler, for lack of a better term.
Pirate.
Okay, she's a pirate. And he's basically working with her to try to get this substance to keep it off of the open market. So in this issue, they're having a conversation, and she learned something things. She learned some things about Mace that lets us, the reader, know about his background without going too much into it. And I found that interesting because, again, we don't know anything about these characters. You know, outside of the characters who are on what's the planet where Queen Amidala came from? And Jar
Naboo,
Jar Binks, Naboo.
the Naboo.
For the most part, and whatever planet the Wookiees come from. Again,
Kashyyyk.
sure. We don't
I'm a Star
learn
Wars
about
nerd.
these
Yes,
characters.
I
We don't
know. I admit it. Just let it move on.
Yeah. So we don't learn about where these characters come from more often than not. In this issue, we learn a little bit more about Mace Windu's background. And I am enjoying the story because I'm interested to see where he hails from, what he went through, how he ended up as the master Jedi that he became. And a conversation that I've been having with my boy over the past few weeks, because we both watch Bad Batch. If you guys aren't watching Bad Batch, it's pretty good. Going into the whole Star Wars mythology, Mace Windu has got to be alive. I believe that he's alive somewhere on Coruscant, or maybe he found his way back to his home planet, whatever that may be. I don't think Mace Windu is dead, personally. And I hope he makes another appearance. Because think about it. All he did was he had his hands cut off. And yeah, he was thrown out of a window.
Was it both hands or just one?
It was both. He had both of his hands cut off. But he had both of his hands cut off with a lightsaber, which cauterizes
the wound.
Cauterizes the wound so he wouldn't bleed to death. And so I don't necessarily know that you need your hands to manipulate the Force versus just having the Force in you and being able to, use it. So conceivably, although he was blown out of a window, he could still use the Force to come to a soft landing. So,
yeah.
this
I mean, this is a dope story.
The book is good.
The book is good.
The art could be better.
Let me. I mean, I like the art. The art's by artist Georges Genti. Let me show you something about this book. Let's go over to Mace Windu. First of all, here's the covers. This first cover is by artist Mateos Manhanini. Derek and I disagree on how to pronounce that, but I could be wrong. Here's the covers
cool.
for. Yeah, it's cool.
This
cool. Is I guess this must be the pirate.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Now, I was reading for the first 3 or 4 issues, the Star Wars. What was that last Star Wars book with? I can't remember the name of it. Not New Republic, but something that's out now. And something
the High Republic?
High Republic. Okay.
Yeah.
So something that I'm not accustomed to seeing are Black women in the Star Wars universe. Yes, right. During the last iteration, you had the Black chick that John Boyega's character was kind of crushing after, but that's something that you haven't really seen in the Star Wars universe. And for the longest time, we thought Billy D. Williams was the only brother in space. So I appreciate the fact that in this book, you have 2 Black characters interacting.
You're stealing my thunder. You're not even a Star Wars fan. Let me speak my piece. Star Wars has been getting blacker and blacker and blacker. Let me be specific. Star Wars comics are getting blacker and blacker and blacker. Shh. Don't tell the fanboys, although some of them know. This cover is the Karen S. Darbo Women's History Month variant. Okay. Karen S. Darbo, for those of you who don't follow this stuff like Mark, she was the artist on the Bloodline comic book series.
And I wasn't, and neither one of us were a fan of the interior art on that. But that
it's not that her art wasn't good. She's a good artist.
Right.
It just wasn't appropriate for that genre of comic book.
That story. But that looks good. I like the way that looks.
Yeah, this is beautiful artwork. But here's the thing. Star Wars comics have becoming blacker and blacker and blacker. If you look at the High Republic, The leads on each of the High Republic series have all been black women. Have all been black women. There's like one series. Oh, I'm sorry. There's two series in which the leads were black men. I don't know what's going on with Star Wars, but I will point out this. Can you guys see the screen right now? Okay, good. You can see the screen. I'm gonna. The head senior editor of all Star Wars comics is this guy, Robert Simpson. He is the senior editor at, what does it say right here? Senior editor at Lucasfilms. And all of a sudden, we have all of these comics with black people in them, all left and right. Coincidence? We at Black Comic Lords talk all the time about, damn, Marvel and DC need more black editors so that we can get more black characters in these books. Technically, Marvel has one. He works for Lucasfilms, so he works in the Star Wars books. And all of a sudden, we're getting black characters here and there all over the place. I'll take it a step further with regard to this particular book that we're talking about. Understand, historically speaking, let's zoom in on this part. Let me tell you how black this book is. Who's the cover artist? Mateus Manahini. Right? Brother. Who's the writer?
He looks like Jeffrey Wright, kind of.
Mark Bernardine. Brother. Who's the artist? Georges Genti. Brother. Who's the inker? Dexter Vines. Brother. Who's the colorist? Andrew Dalhouse. Other brother. Who are them two main characters in this friggin' book? Mace Windu and the pirate woman Avita Cruz, whatever her name is. Azita Cruz. Those are the two main characters in the story. Both black. This might very well be. This might very well be the blackest Star Wars book of all time.
So representation matters, and even though a lot of people are trying to get away from diversion, equity, and inclusion, in order for us to see ourselves in some of these books, it takes other of us to be in positions of power to make those decisions to get black writers, artists, inkers, and things of that nature. So yeah. So what was the next book?
Look. Black Comic Lords, right? We like to note books of historical significance. Understand, when Mark and I were kids, when you saw that first Star Wars movie, I was 5 years old. When I saw the first Star Wars movie, there was like one black guy. I think maybe
there were no black people in A New Hope.
Hold on. Let me finish. There were maybe two. One was in Tatooine. He was walking in the background. If you blinked, you missed him. Another one. Oh, I'm sorry. There's only one. That was the only one. The second guy was actually Return of the Jedi. That was it. A background like character.
That doesn't count.
You barely saw him. You saw like the back of his head. That's it. It wasn't until you got to Return Empire Strikes Back that you got to see Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian. And then in Return of the Jedi, it was Billy D. Williams and this one black pilot who I think died at the end as they're storming the Death Star. That's it. Comic books wise, no black characters ever in Star Wars comics. And Star Wars has been around a while, 40 years, for over 45 years. So the only black character you ever got was Lando Calrissian. That's it. This is significant. You have two black characters, writers, artists, all black and one. I almost wanted to check to see if it was still Black History Month for this book. I don't know. I like to see historically significant stuff like that, and that really deserves note, in my opinion. I move on.
It's a good book. It's worth the read. Definitely worth the price of admission.
And on top of it, yes, correct. It was a good book. It was worth the read. Got to learn a little bit more about Mace Windu, which was cool.
That's what I really appreciated. I'm looking forward. That's one of the things, to me, the hallmark of a good comic book is looking forward to the very next issue or issues. As I may have mentioned earlier, that I finally read Ultimate X-Men #1. Not a fan, had it removed from my pull list because I don't give a damn about what happens with that specific character next.
No.
This book specifically, I'm wanting to know whether or not we're going to get more background into how Mace Windu became a Jedi. So that was that book. What was the next book you want to talk about? You said Star Trek?
I want to go to Star Trek. Yes, I am a sci-fi nerd. And Star Wars and Star Trek are big parts of my childhood and my presenthood, adulthood. Want to talk about this book, Sons of Star Trek, that came out this week. It was written by Morgan Hampton. He's a Milestone Initiative alum. Shout out to Morgan Hampton. Part of the BCL fam. We interviewed him when he was doing the Cyborg book, and also when he was also going to do when he did some stuff for Milestone. He tweeted recently that during the pandemic, he spent much of the pandemic just binge watching Star Trek for whatever reason, and specifically Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which in my opinion is the best Star Trek series of all time. Starring Avery Brooks in the titular lead role as Captain Benjamin Sisko. I love that series with a passion. I never get tired of rewatching those episodes. It was cool seeing us in the future represented, and the way that Avery Brooks did it and insisted on doing it was phenomenal. I don't want to belabor the point because I know a lot of you might not be into Star Trek, but if you want more information on that, you might want to check out a documentary called What We Left Behind. It's free. You can pull it up on YouTube. I think it's on Tubi for free. But it's a really great documentary on the series Star Trek Deep Space Nine and why it's such a significant series. Not just for Star Trek, but in general.
Speaking of Tubi, real quick, if you have Tubi, you have access to Tubi, Paul mentioned that, check out the Dirty D as well. So just something for you to watch.
Sure. All right. So many of the Star Trek spin-off series went for 7 seasons. Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Voyager, all went 7 seasons. This book, for all intents and purposes, is Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 8. If you're a Star Trek fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. I loved this book. Loved it as a Star Trek fan. It basically takes the sons of prominent characters in the Star Trek universe on whatever show it was and puts them all in one book. Sort of like the next generation of the next generation. And the best way to explain it is the character Q, which is, if you're familiar with Star Trek, is this omnipotent
the Beyonder. He's the Star Trek's version of Beyonder.
He's the Star Trek's version of the Beyonder. Very good analogy. He's an impish, all-powerful character that can control space, time, and reality. And he takes all of these characters and says, I'm going to put you in a pocket universe just to teach you a lesson. That's all you need to know. But in writing this, Morgan Hampton really threw in all these Easter eggs for Star Trek fans from various series, various episodes. He's got it all in there. I'm geeking out hard in this book. I love this book. I really, really love this book. It was really well done. Really, really well done. And I'm gonna give a shout out to Morgan. This is the first issue. I'm gonna give a shout out to Morgan Hampton on this because he wrote a dope Star Trek book.
Can
And
you
I
show the
think
interior art
the
without
interior
doing any
art's good.
spoilers? I just want to see a couple of pages. I just want to see what it looks like.
Let me see. The art
Not a
pretty
spoiler.
much.
Does this
I think
go?
it pretty much looks kind of like this.
Okay,
This
so
is
it's
the cover I
same-
want to get. This
same
is an
artist?
incentive. This is an incentive. This also brings up another point. One of the reasons I love Star Trek Deep Space Nine is you had the representation of a black father. Captain Sisko was a father. This is his son, Jake.
Jake?
Behind them, you see, because they're from Louisiana. Captain Sisko's father was a restaurant and chef, a restaurant owner and chef in New Orleans. That's where he's from. I said New Orleans or Baton Rouge. Anyway, he's from Louisiana. And that's the father, the grandfather in the back. So you've got 3 generations of black men on the cover of a Star Trek book. For me personally, that's pretty cool and pretty significant. This is an incentive variant of 1 in 10 that I have to get just for that significance alone, on top of being an incredibly dope story. I can't say enough about this book. It was absolutely fantastic. If you're a Star Trek fan, you got to get this book. It doesn't matter if you're a Deep Space Nine fan. If you're a Star Trek fan, there's a little bit of various areas of Star Trek in this book. Easter eggs all over this book. It was really well done. So that's one of the books I wanted to talk about.
Good. What's next? I got
What
Century
is next? Suicide Squad.
Okay.
No.
It would be Century would come before
The
Suicide
Sentry. The Sentry comes next. All right,
Yes.
let's go. We're going in alphabetical order. So Sentry number 4. Why don't you explain what this series is about?
All right. So something I didn't realize and I didn't really initially pay attention to until the end of issue 4. This was a 4-issue limited series. So Bob Reynolds, aka the Sentry, is in Marvel 616, at least on planet Earth. If not the most powerful mortal, he's one of the top 3, and he's not 3. You know, you could probably put the Hulk up there. You could probably put Blue Marvel up there, but he's one of the top 3 most powerful humans, non-god on planet Earth, right? So I don't include Zeus, I don't include Thor, Odin, etc., etc. Well, Bob Reynolds had mental and emotional issues, i.e., he was crazy. That's not politically correct, but
Cray.
He was crazy. I don't recall when, but he eventually died at some point in some book.
I think it was during wasn't it during King in Black? He got torn in half by Null.
I just don't remember. I just don't know.
I think that's what happened. I think Null tore him in half.
Okay. So he died. Bob Reynolds, the Sentry, died. Well, in this book, in the 4-issue limited series, in issue 1, Bob's powers didn't just dissipate because you can't destroy energy. It went into these other 5 individuals. One of the individuals in question, a character by the name of Ryan, is kind of crazy. And so Ryan wants the power all to himself. So what he does is throughout these 3 to 4 issues, Ryan has been going around finding the other people who have been imbued with the power of Sentry and kill them so the power can go into him. Think about basically the Highlander. This is a Highlander type story. There can be only one. So he goes off and he kills these people and absorbs the power of the Sentry, and he becomes more powerful. Well, the last 2 people standing are Ryland and a black female with multiple sclerosis named Mallory Gibbs. Okay. This is going to be a spoiler. Well, let me say it this way. Ryan, as the antagonist in this book, does not win, right? So that means one of the most powerful people on planet Earth is a black female. And so I say all that to say you need to go back and pick up issue number 1, because I think that's probably when she makes her first appearance. If at any point they decide to bring that character live action, you're going to want that book. The storyline is cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 7.5 and 8. But the fact that that character may be the last person standing, and considering how powerful Sentry is or was, and she now has that power, you're going to want issue number 1. It's only 4 issues. It should still be on your shelves. I'm not going to say it's been flying off because I honestly don't know. But with that in mind, the way that Miles Morales made his appearance in Ultimate Fallout number 4, nobody really thought about it at the time, but now he's kind of a big deal. I'm not saying or suggesting that this character will be a big deal, but in case she does, the books are out there. They're cover price. You should be able to get them. It's a decent story, so I would encourage you to pick it up. I did enjoy it. Also, Misty Knight is featured prominently in this book. So you have 2 Black female characters who are prominently featured in this book. And I just wanted to show this image right here, which I thought was kind of cool. Had somewhat like a Power Rangers feel to it. And I'm not going to tell you what happened because, again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but you should pick up this book and definitely get issue 1, where I believe she made her first appearance.
I think ditto to everything that Mark said. I don't, the Sentry, the MCU was toiling with the idea of having the Sentry come into the MCU.
And I did like how they were going to do.
Stephen Yeun from Walking Dead was slated to play Bob Reynolds, which makes no sense because he's Korean. And he ultimately, I guess, backed out of the project, or I don't know what happened, but he's not attached to it anymore.
And let me just say this real quick. Robert Kirkman is kind of an asshole because everybody who's been paying attention to the MCU over the past 14, 15 years, when the MCU or those behind projects make decisions, you have to sign like 15 NDAs and promise to give up your firstborn if you violate the NDA. Well, Stephen Yeun, pretty much, I'm not going to say he got his start on The Walking Dead, but that was my first time seeing him. So he, Stephen, and Robert Kirkman, who created The Walking Dead, who also created Invincible, where Stephen voices, they're boys. So about 5-6 months ago, Robert Kirkman on some podcast dropped the news that, yeah, my boy Stephen Yeun is going to be, the Sentry. I mean, I don't care. What are they going to do to me? That was a dick move on his part. Stephen probably told his boy Robert in confidence, yo, man, I'm going to be in the MCU. I'm going to be the Sentry in confidence. And he just divulged that. And after it was divulged that that's who's going to play, I'm sure there was a lot of backlash because I personally would be against that. Love Stephen, think he's a phenomenal actor, but that's not the right character for him. So I just want to say that it seems like Robert Kirkman may be a dick.
And the thing that makes it illogical to make, and this is what we talk about all the time, about race swapping and gender swapping characters unnecessarily when they make their appearances in movies and television shows. Stephen Yeun's a Korean American actor. Marvel has a significantly powered Korean character called Taeguk that was introduced about 5 years ago or so. He's like one of the most powerful Asian characters that Marvel has. He's kind of like their Superman, and
plus they have a whole new Korean-based super team, and
right,
Tiger
Force or something.
It's either Tiger Division or Tiger One. I'll tell you,
it's like Tiger Division or something like that.
Yeah,
and Taeguk is the leader of it.
Okay,
so if you really want to do representation, don't do as Chillmonger, our boy Chillmonger always says, don't do temporary representation and race swap Sentry so that you can switch him later on. Make a real representation. Taeguk exists. He's very powerful. He's the Superman type character.
Yeah, it's Tiger.
Have Stephen Yeun play him.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But
so it was bad. It was bad casting. It was bad casting on whoever's part. I'm glad he backed out. He won an Emmy for his role in the Netflix limited series Beef. He has had a pretty decent career, and I wish the best for him. But he was not right for that role. You know, the role needs to be
Armistead
played by
says no one liked that move anyway, just like no one is going to like Black Wonder Man. Exactly. Did anybody? Well, did anyone ask for Wonder Man? No.
No.
B,
He doesn't need
who the hell asked for Black
movie.
Wonder Man?
He doesn't need a movie. He could sit up here and be
How does
part of
Wonder Man rate his own
WandaVision,
movie?
like a WandaVision season 2 or something, because Simon Williams is tied into Vision, because the anagrams, the mental capacity of the Vision is based on Simon Williams. So that would make sense to shoehorn him into that property. But you know, Yahya Abdul-Mateen is my frat brother, but he's already played 2 superhero. Let me rephrase that. He's already played 2 comic book characters already. He was, of course, Black Manta in DC. He was also Dr. Manhattan in DC. He does not need a third role, and he definitely does not need to be Wonder Man. My fan cast for that role was Jerry O'Connell. I think he would be perfect for that role. Jerry O'Connell was in Stand By Me, who's also married to Rebecca, the first Mystique.
Rebecca Romaine's former Stamos.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
One more book.
Next book. Moving on to the next. Well, just final note on the Sentry. I think Mark is right. That's a book that you might want to go ahead and get, because she formed, without doing spoilers, she's not a new Sentry. She is a new character. They give her a different name.
Right. And that's in issue 4. But her as a civilian identity comes in issue 1.
Right. So this might be a series to pick up. It's not on anyone's radar. It might be a good book to go pick up while you can,
right,
at cover price or less.
Yep.
All right. So next book was another dope book. Honestly. This was a good week for reading. Suicide Squad, The Dream Team.
I've mentioned before that Amanda Waller is one of my favorite overall comic book characters and one of my top 5 DC characters.
Yeah.
She has absolutely no superpowers. She has no special abilities other than the fact of manipulation. If manipulation and gaslighting was a superpower, she would be the Superman of gaslighting. She would be the Wonder Woman of manipulation. She is a bureaucrat who works for the United States government, and everything she does, she feels is for the benefit of the United States of America. And as an aside, planet Earth. She's a chick who has a PhD in like political science. And that's one of the reasons why I respect the character a lot, is because she didn't get where she was on looks, but sheer grit and intelligence. And I can appreciate the hell of that out of that. She has been in charge of the, almost said Weapon X, but the what do they call it? The
Task Force X.
Task Force X for years now. The original Suicide comic book debuted in like the 1980s, and Amanda was always in charge of that. There have been different iterations, there have been different teams, and for those who don't know, Task Force X is comprised of what we would call villains who have been adjudicated guilty in some way, shape, or form, who, in order to get their sentence commuted a little bit, are sent on these potentially one-way missions. Think The Dirty Dozen. If you've never seen the movie The Dirty Dozen, what are you doing with your life? But The Dirty Dozen was comprised of 12 Army soldiers who had been convicted of crimes, who had been sentenced to death, and then they were tasked with going on a mission that would pretty much be a one-way mission. Well, that's what Task Force X is. And Amanda Waller is in charge of that. And she typically works out of a prison called Belle Rev, which is in Louisiana somewhere. And so she has created another team. The team is always fluctuating. You know, typically you rarely have the same individuals on the teams all the time. Back in the 80s when the book was going on, you had a kind of like a core group, but people would come and go. Well, now she has a group that has Harley Quinn, the Clockmaster, her nephew, who is a character by the name of Deadeye,
Deadeye,
who
correct.
who has telepathic powers. There's a new character. Well, for me, it's a new character called Dreamer, who I just discovered is a trans character. That's not a biological female. The character, this book was written by a trans individual. And so there are about 5 or 6 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 individuals who are on this specific team who are sent to a third world country to stop insurgents from getting some weapons and things of that nature. It's well done. I like the art. I don't like how Amanda is drawn. The way Amanda was drawn during the Titans Beast World storyline, I like that. This Amanda is not attractive. And that's, I know that may seem petty or whatever. Amanda has always been a larger woman, but she hasn't necessarily been quote unquote ugly. The way that they have her drawn in this book, I would say, obviously beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but she looks ugly in this, and I don't like it. Look at this. Right? Like, come on now, she looks kind of evil. Yes, we know that she has evil tendencies, but those evil tendencies are in what she feels is in the best interest of the United States. It's a very good book. It is a good book. I'm interested to see where it's going to go. This is it's going to be a 4-issue limited series, so I would suggest that you pick it up. It's a good read.
I really enjoyed this book. It reminded me, I just recently got into the Suicide Squad. First of all, let me start with this. I agree with Mark. I think Amanda Waller is one of DC's best characters. I think she's tremendously undervalued. You can buy her first appearance in Legends #1 for like $20.
If you can find it. Yeah.
You could find it. It's not hard to find. You can buy it for like $20. And that's the first appearance of one of DC's best characters. And from a technical standpoint, other than probably household name recognition, she's damn near one of their, what do you call it, Class A characters, in the sense that she's been in comics, she's been in movies, she's been in television shows, and she even has merch. There's like an Amanda Waller action figure out there.
I've not seen that. Real quick though, speaking of the live action, Amanda Waller at this point has had 3 actresses play her.
No, more than that.
Okay, so a lot of people think that Angela Bassett's role in Green Lantern was Amanda Waller. It was not. That was not Amanda Waller. She was that character was a scientist.
What was her name?
What was her name? Waller, but that was
not
Amanda Waller. But
it was a reincarnation of the character.
That was a different character. Just like in the Arrowverse, that's not, Mr. Terrific was not Michael Holt. That was a different character who went by Mr. Terrific. So I don't count him as being quote unquote Mr. Terrific. That was not Amanda Waller. So you had in the Smallville series, you had the phenomenal Pam Grier. In the Arrowverse, you had the slim lady who was in Spartacus, whose name I never knew her name, but she was very attractive and slim. That's 2. And then, of course, you have the great Viola Davis. That's 3. Those are the 3 who've been Amanda Waller.
You forgot CCH Pounder.
She's not played her live action, is what we're talking about.
She did live action, but it's animated. She did the voice. Anyway,
I understand that, but we were talking about live action.
Or whatever. Listen, I love this book. I've gotten into the Suicide Squad late in life. I've been collecting Suicide Squad comics in the past, in the last few years, particularly because of Bronze Tiger and Vixen, who was another character one of DC, in my opinion, one of DC's best characters, and quite frankly, should be DC's number one black superheroine. Should be Vixen. It's almost criminal the way that character has not been properly promoted by DC. But Amanda Waller is really up there.
Yeah.
This series is a throwback to the original Suicide Squad series in many respects, in terms of its vibe for me. I also love the fact that they've introduced low key this new character who actually was introduced. Let me pull him up here. Her nephew, Deadeye, who was actually introduced in this series called Lazarus Planet Next Evolution.
Okay, so I have this. That was his first appearance in that.
This was his first appearance and his first full appearance and his first cover appearance.
Okay, so I have that.
Yeah, I love having this book because it's cool to have a brand new, original,
Black
non-legacy black character who's tied to one of DC's best black characters, Amanda Waller. This is her nephew. He has, as they describe it, psychic abilities. I don't know what that means. They leave it kind of vague.
He's a telepath.
He's a telepath as well, but they also say he has some type of psychic abilities, which is always kind of vague. But he's a telepath, but he's also a metahuman tracker. He's like a bounty hunter type guy. And he doesn't like doing missions for his aunt, but he does them.
Right.
So it's also cool to have him in this book as well, to get more stories with him and expand upon what that character is. The last time we saw this character was actually in Titans Beast War, Waller Rising.
Beast World.
Beast World, Waller Rising, which was significant, historically significant, is having the most black superheroes from DC in one book that's not Milestone. In fact, I have original artwork from the artist Karen Grant, which, yeah, I'm sure my boy Derek is saying I'm flexing right now, but yeah, I am. This is original art from, well, you probably can't see it. Original art from that book, and at the bottom there is Deadeye.
He kind of looks how T'Challa's being drawn in Ultimate Black Panther, the way that character was. But it's a good book. I would encourage you to read it. It's only 4 issues, so it's good.
NBA Live Girl says Vixen will be in the new Bird of Prey series. I didn't know there was a new Bird of Prey series.
Yeah, me either.
Is that the comic book NBA Live Girl? Or is there a television show or movie or something? Ever since Stewart chose Hawkwoman over Vixen, she has been more limited, unfortunately.
And what he's talking about is in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoon that was in the early 2000s. And that's how a lot of us have formulated our opinions on some of these characters, specifically Amanda Waller, who Paul just mentioned, was voiced by the great CCH Pounder, who, quite frankly, should have been, all due respect to Viola Davis, who should have been given the opportunity to play the character live action.
Here's 2 questions that were asked of us. Is Amanda Waller a bad person?
It depends on what your definition of bad is, because understand something. All decisions that she makes, she feels is for the greater good of the United States. On a grand scheme, she's willing to use any and everything to accomplish her goal. The ends justify the means for her. So if you don't have an issue with that, if you're looking at the big picture, then no, she's not. But if you are concerned about the individual rights, individual rights, then yeah, she is a bad person because she doesn't give a damn about you. All she cares about is the mission. So it just depends on what side of the fence you fall on.
Oh, NBA Live Girl answers the question. She says, yeah, the comic issue 7, she comes in. She's on the cover of 8.
I had no idea.
I hate that she just told me that, because now I've got to buy those 2 issues, because I'm a big Vixen fan. I really hate the fact that she's so underrepresented. So every appearance I can get her in, I'm going to go ahead and get that. So thank you for that. Journey Smollett would have been a good Vixen instead of Black.
I disagree.
Exactly.
I don't
Exactly.
I don't agree with that. There are a lot of actresses out there who I can see as Vixen, because when I think of Vixen, not only do I think about the comic book Vixen, but I think of the cartoon Vixen from Justice League Unlimited. I don't see Journey in that role. There are
the one thing with Journey though is that she's a little too light skinned to play Vixen.
That is correct.
Vixen is an African princess or something.
Right.
So Journey doesn't look like that.
Exactly. There are tons of actresses who I could see not Journey.
Armistead is Nick 616 Fury a bad person?
See, here's the thing. They're basically the same person.
Yeah, that's his point. That's his point. They're basically the same character. So unless you think Nick Fury is evil, you should not consider Amanda Waller.
Here's the thing, though. I think that Amanda will cross lines that Nick Fury won't. That's what I think.
Yeah, she's not above manipulation and blackmail.
Correct. And she will kill people.
Bison for Life says, Frat, she's a murderer on a grand level.
Okay, well, nobody's perfect.
I mean,
nobody's perfect.
Details, big picture.
Yep.
Death Rocker says, so the same with Galactus not being
Galactus
evil.
is a force of nature. A hurricane is not evil. A earthquake is not evil. It is a force of nature. That's what Galactus is.
He's hungry and he views the world as a buffet.
Yeah. So
Waller is not a bad person. Hell, the older I get, the more I agree with Thanos' perspective.
So basically, Louisiana Kid loves death. He's a simp for death. Good to know.
And honestly, sometimes you ever have those days where someone just irritates you and you're looking at them and you just want to go. He tried to kill the Watcher.
Again, nobody's perfect.
Who do you think should play Meteor Man if they make another movie?
I don't care about that.
That's a Herschel question.
But you know what, though? Lakeith Stansfield. I can see Lakeith Stansfield as Meteor Man.
Sure. I can see Lakeith. So there's a lot of guys that Lakeith.
Yeah, but I don't care about Meteor
Man. There was another comment here I missed here. Derek says 15-yard penalty on the play, flex without gloves. I still don't have my black gloves. Yes, I know. I know this, Derek. Where's the? I missed. Crap. I thought Oh, here it is. Here's another question by in Manifesto. Is Amanda a stereotype?
No.
How?
There's nothing.
The question is really kind of based on, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. I Manifesto. Are you asking if sort of the angry black woman stereotype? She
is a person. The way I view Amanda, and understand something, the first Suicide Squad came out in 1987. Of the 62 issues of Volume 1, I'm only missing 3. So I have been a Suicide Squad Amanda Waller fan for a very, very long time. Nothing about this character to me is stereotypical. I personally do not view her as an angry black woman. I don't view her any different than I do Steel over in DC, who's in charge or has been charged of Checkmate, or any other bureaucrat. I view her as the same vein as Henry Peter Gyrich over in Marvel, or Nick Fury in Marvel. Nobody would say that they're quote unquote angry. You may say that they're assholes. You may say that they're manipulative, or whatever the case may be. But nobody would say that they're angry because they're men, specifically white men. So no, Amanda is not a stereotype in any way, shape, or form.
All right. So next comment. Chillmonger says Lakeith needs to play more good guys.
You got to go see the Book of Clarence.
I did watch the Book of Clarence a few nights ago. You know what came to mind as I watched him? It wouldn't be my preference, but I wouldn't be 100% big up mad if they made him Dr. Voodoo.
Yeah, I don't see that. I would want somebody older to be Dr. Voodoo.
No, he could do it.
I'm not saying he couldn't, but my preference would be somebody older. But that was a very, very, very good movie.
Bison for Life says Walker. I think it means
correct.
Walker. No moral center if it comes to the security of the United States. She loves herself.
About the mission. It is about the mission.
She loves herself some America.
Yep.
What's up with the Ironheart television series? The what series?
Yeah, I don't know what this-
Ironheart. What is that a thing?
So, of the book, of
I'm
the
being
books that we
facetious.
reviewed this week, my favorite, I would say, would of course be Ultimate Black Panther. That was my
Hold on, before we
personal-
get into the big, let's finish the comments. I Manifesto explains his question about her being a stereotype. He says,
No.
Aunt Jemima and angry, masculine black woman trope.
There's nothing other than this volume of her appearance. There's never been anything masculine about Amanda to me. When you watch Justice League Unlimited, she's not masculine. She's just hefty. When you read her in the original Suicide Squad books, she's not masculine, just hefty. Again, I don't view her as angry. Nobody says Nick Fury is angry. Nobody says Colonel Steele is angry. Nobody says Henry Peter Gyrich is angry. She is just a serious,
She's serious and she's direct and she doesn't BS you. She just goes to the point.
There's no anger there. She is no nonsense. So no, she
She doesn't often raise her voice. She's kind of like very direct. Like, look, I don't want to do what you want to do. Then you will die.
Right. It's that simple. That's not anger. That's getting the mission accomplished.
All right. JP asked, should they make another Steel? No, thank you. No, I'm not even answering that question. Lakeith Stanfield, Sterling K. Brown, or Trevante Rose, who should play John Stewart?
Okay, so of those three, let me start by saying Trevante Rhodes is not a good actor. I know a lot of people are enamored with him because of how he looks physically. I get that. I understand that. But when you watch his performances, he is not a strong actor. I've seen most of everything that he's done, with the exception of that Tyler Perry thing that came out recently that I heard was god awful. But I think that John Stewart would be in his wheelhouse. Sterling K. Brown has already been in the MCU. I understand the MCU and DC are different, but I'm a stickler when it comes to having the same actor play multiple comic book roles. I'm against it. Lakeith Stanfield, absolutely not. There's nothing about him that says to me military.
Nothing about Lakeith Stanfield makes him appropriate for John Stewart. Sterling K. Brown of those three choices is the best choice, but however, he's too old to carry a franchise at this point.
And from an acting standpoint, Trevante. From a physical standpoint, Trevante.
Trevante definitely looks the role. He looks like John Stewart, but I don't know about his acting skills.
He's not.
Bison for Life says she's like a fixer with top secret level access, but her morality is questionable. Her morality is, I'll do whatever it takes to preserve America.
Correct. Right. There's nothing questionable about it.
She's a patriot. She's a hardcore patriot.
Get the job done.
She's like, look, I'm going to protect you. You're welcome. I'm going to kill a bunch of people who do it.
She's the man on the wall. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. She is Colonel Jessup. That's who Amanda Waller is.
What real person is Amanda Waller inspired by?
I can't say. If the character had been created within the past 20 years, I would say Condoleezza Rice.
I was literally going to say Condoleezza Rice.
Right. But the character predates the popularity or the notoriety of Condoleezza Rice by about 15 years. So,
although the two characters kind of merge into each other in a way, if you look at the Black Panther run by Reginald Hudlin, he had a character called Conti. Conti.
Okay.
Conti. He called her Conti. That was based on Condoleezza Rice, and she had some Amanda Waller vibes to her.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jamie Lawson could play Vixen.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who Jamie Lawson is. Why don't you Google that? Jamie Lawson is one of my picks for Vixen too, Pericles says. Now there's two people saying Jamie. Now I gotta Google who Jamie Lawson is. Hold on, let me stop sharing that.
Oh, the chick from Batman.
From Batman, the one who played the mayor candidate.
The mayor, yeah.
Oh,
very attractive.
Yes. Let me bring her up on the screen.
Yeah, but
in fact, she's one of my picks to play Storm. Honestly, this actress, she absolutely could play Vixen. Look at this picture where she's wearing the yellow top. This is the kind of the colors that Vixen wears. Absolutely. The eyebrows and the eyes, because Vixen always got kind of the slanty eye thing going on, the way she's been drawn in the Justice League series. Absolutely, she could play Vixen.
There are a lot of actresses out there, a lot of talented actresses out there for the role. But again, as I've said time and again, the fact that she's been in Batman and will probably be in other Batman movies, because she was the mayor, if I'm not mistaken, she would not be right to me.
Well, that's to you.
But she is an
too much
attractive
expectation.
actress. Well, yes, I'm the one who said
And
that.
she's a Spellmanite, Boyson for life says.
Oh, I did not know that.
Okay.
Only one L in that, Bison.
Paul, an idea I posted earlier. Imagine a Wakanda themed show with a Game of Thrones type of intro showing different parts of Wakanda. I mean, that was the big brouhaha 2 years ago when that guy did the AI generated Bashenga series, where he took all those pictures and basically formed a not a screenplay, but a what do you call that?
Stop motion.
No, not stop motion. Geez, I'm not having so many brain farts. Maybe it's because all this liquor I've drank. Not screenplay. I can't think of the word. But he basically these images that made you think of what the show could be. Good points. Mr. Gwaltney says she put Batman in his place.
It will never I will never forget the episode of Justice League or Justice League Unlimited when Bruce Wayne Batman was trying to intimidate Amanda, and Amanda was like, "Well, look, why don't we both step into the light, rich boy?" Which let Batman,
which was based on a comic book, actually. It was based on a Suicide Squad book.
Right, I have that issue.
Yeah.
Where Amanda was basically letting him know, like, "Look, Bruce, I know who you are. You want to out me? I'll out you as well." So yeah,
that's where they reached their detente.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction is what they realized what happened.
Hi, Manifesto. You sound like Jared Ball. Austin C. Hello, family. Did you guys know that the ball-headed version of Luke Cage is inspired by 8 times Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman? No,
I don't know.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Louisiana Kid has a question for me. He says, I have a question for you. You piqued my interest in War of the Independents #2, but the cheapest I can find the book is $250 on eBay. Should I get it? Wow, that's a really loaded question for me right now. Should you get it? Because it is historic. I like historically significant books. It is a historically significant book right now. Because it is presently the record holder for having the largest amount of Black characters on the cover and on the interiors of any comic book ever made. I think I paid $100 for mine, and that was a lot at the time. This was like a year ago, a year and a half ago. So much so that when I bought it, it actually hit the radar of several YouTube people who said, "Oh, this book made movement. Someone's paid $100 for it." I'm like, that. I just bought it yesterday. Is $250 a lot? It is a lot for the book, but it's historically significant. The reason I pause when I say, is it worth getting, is because unless you've been living under a rock in our space, or you're not familiar with our space, Epiphany Engine's coming. Epiphany Engine's coming. And that will potentially break that record. It is a conglomeration of, what is it? I think they're up to 33, probably more at this point. 33 Black independent comic book company publishers coming together to put together a 192-page graphic novel with over 70 Black characters in it. And they've got some top-notch artists. It's either Chris Cross or Larry Stroman, I think, is rumored to be doing a cover that's going to have a bunch of Black characters on the cover that may ultimately break the record of War of Independence #2. At least I think that's the goal. So you might want to wait. I think that book will go on Kickstarter in June. You might want to wait and see what that book is putting out before you make that purchase, because it'll then be viewed as the second highest. You might want to just wait and get the highest and support a great book and a great cause. All right, next question. Doctor, I don't know what that means. Who should play Cyborg for his Teen Titans live action? This is your question. This is a
yeah. Hold on.
Fan casting. I defer all fan casting questions to you.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and I'm looking it up because he's a pretty solid actor. That's it. Eli Goree. If you can Google him real quick. He played.
I can't even spell that.
Eli, E-L-I.
I know what Eli is. Goree.
Goree, G-O-R-E-E.
Oh,
and
that guy? Muhammad Ali.
He was Muhammad Ali in One Night in Miami.
I agree with this casting.
He's very physically fit. The boy can act because he did an extremely good job as Muhammad Ali. He played in a couple of episodes of Ballers. He played a football player, and The Rock was trying to bang his mom. He's a very good actor, and I could see him in that.
Yeah, when I first time I saw this dude, I saw Cyborg. I can honestly say that.
Because he also kind of looks like Ray Fisher,
he does look like Ray Fisher. And the first time I saw him, I think was in that episode of Ballers where he played a football player, which Cyborg was.
Yes.
And I remember seeing him and saying, man, that guy could be Cyborg.
Yeah.
He would literally be my first choice. And the dude can act.
Yeah.
The dude can act.
So that would be my choice, personally.
Let's see. iManifesto says Amanda is Condoleezza.
But again, understand the character predates the world knowing who Condoleezza Rice is.
Yeah.
So maybe Condoleezza Rice was inspired by Amanda. We never know.
Armistead Guatley says she is not a fixer at all. She's not a fixer. She prevents problems by killing the right people.
Right.
Dr. Voodoo and Deathlock should be in the MCU. Man, I was so disappointed. Look, I'm one of the 5 people that actually liked Multiverse of Madness. I thought it was a good movie.
It was a very good movie. Anybody who doesn't like that movie is just hating for no reason.
They're just hating for no reason. I thought it was an excellent movie. My only detraction from that movie was the fact that, in my opinion, that should have been the springboard for Dr. Voodoo. Dr. Voodoo should have been in that film because his brother, Daniel Drum, was already in the first Doctor Strange movie as the keeper of the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York, who got killed. So yeah, Jericho Drum should have been Dr. Voodoo too. Doctor Strange too. Blurred Forever. Hey man, another dude from the UK.
Yes.
Is Jamie Foxx now too old to play Spawn? Yeah, Jamie Foxx is like 55 years old or something like that.
Jamie Foxx is like 56, 57. So yes.
Yeah, he is. He's too old. He's in good shape, but he's technically too old.
Plus the fact he's already played Electro. So
I don't care about that part, but yeah, he's too old to play him at this point. Amanda Waller should be played by Rock from Raising Kanan. Wow.
I want a larger woman to play her.
But she got the attitude.
But Viola Davis is already playing her, and Viola's doing a good job. So
yeah, I mean, that's another point I wanted to mention about this comic book. As I read the Suicide Squad Dream Team, and I read Amanda Waller's parts, I heard Viola's voice as I was reading it.
Amanda Waller does not need to be recast, and definitely not by the young lady who plays Rock.
She was Mayor Bella Real.
The young lady who you guys said need to be Vixen.
Oh, okay. David Ajayi from Star Trek Discover is a good fit for Jon Stewart.
No.
David Ajayi, is that the guy who plays Book?
He plays the Doctor, if I'm not mistaken, and he was also.
No, that's not his name. Isn't David Ajayi? That's not his name.
Discovery, the one with old girl. Okay,
Sonequa Martin Green,
the tall dude.
I think David Ajayi is her boyfriend.
In the show, yeah.
Let me look him up.
I'm gonna send Paul, like while he's doing that, I'm gonna send him some of the folks who I have fan cast in the past, and these might not be names that you would normally think or whatever. But Paul, check.
I don't think
your,
we're getting this name right. I don't think you got the spelling right.
let's see, comics.
Agia.
Let's see.
I don't think you spelled it right, dude. Let's pull up Star Trek Discovery cast.
That if you're talking about who I think you're talking about from Star Trek Discovery, he's a guy.
Ajala. Yeah, it's the guy who plays Book.
Right, who
It's David Ajala.
People have fan cast him as T'Challa, and he seems kind of light in the loafers for me to do that role. I don't necessarily see him. He doesn't have that bravado.
He plays an action dude on the light in the low. How do you get that?
Because I've seen him act. That's how.
All right, dude. I mean, okay.
But check
this is the guy that Mark's talking about. He's on the show Star Trek Discovery. He plays the leads Sonequa Martin Green's love interest, Book.
Yeah,
he's an alien character. No, I don't really see him in the superhero role.
Right. And some people have fan cast him as T'Challa as well, and I don't really.
No, definitely not T'Challa. That's not even a question.
But go to your DMs real quick, and I sent about 4 or 5 pictures of other actors who I think would probably be good.
I hate when you DM me.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Because you told me to DM you when I have pictures to send you versus sending you.
I said DM me ahead of time, not during.
We're talking about it now, are we not?
Yes, but now I got to go into my DMs to go.
Exactly. So go to your DMs and pull them up.
Anyway, so what am I looking at here?
But Bison, no, I don't see David Ajala.
Who's this guy?
He was in How to Get Away with Murder.
I've never seen this guy before in my life.
If I'm not mistaken. He was in what do you call that show? Demetrius Gross, I could definitely see. Now these guys, I fan cast this, a couple of years ago. Now, admittedly, these guys may be getting us sort of long in the tooth for it because I would want an actor who was under 40 to play the role. So they may be getting up there.
Okay.
But I could definitely see Demetrius Gross in the role.
Is that who this guy is?
Yeah, that's Demetrius Gross.
Yeah, I've seen him before. I can't remember where.
Yeah, he was in Lovecraft Country. He had a couple of episodes of Lovecraft Country, maybe one. But there was a series. Okay, remember when there were like 4 Special Forces shows that dropped around the same time? There was Valor, there was 6, there was SEAL Team. And then there was that other one that was on NBC that I really, really enjoyed.
Yes.
Not Valor.
With the white lady who used to be married to Tom Cruise.
Tia Leone, who died.
Was it Tia Leone or was it Nicole Kidman?
No, Nicole Kidman is in the series Lioness.
I know what series you're talking about, though.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
The NBC show that only lasted one season.
And it was very, very, very good. I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah. He played the sergeant.
Yes.
He played the top kick.
Yep.
And then there's this guy.
That's David Gyasi. David Gyasi is a phenomenal actor. He's a Brit. He's playing right now. Well, he played in The Ambassador, is what the name of that show was. He was also in a movie about Bass Reeves, like Hell on the Border, and that movie was God.
That's where I recognize him from. Was for
Hell on the Border was a horrible, horrible movie.
But he was good in it. He was good in it.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with his acting. It had everything to do with the story, with the direction, with the costuming, the lighting, the sets. The movie was just bad. Yeah.
And then the next guy is... I've never seen this guy before in my life.
Okay, so did you watch Ozark?
No.
Okay, well he was in Ozark, and he was pretty good. He's a comic book fan too. When I posted this on Twitter, he ended up saying that he wanted to be gentle, and I responded, I'm like, "Are you a comic book head?" And he was like, "Yeah." So he would much rather be gentle than Jon Stewart. And the show that we're talking about, Paul, was called The Brave. It was on for
The
one season.
Brave, yes,
Yeah, it was
yes.
on for one season in 2017. And it was an extremely good show, but it did not last.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Do you
Thuso,
have more on here? No, that's it. That was
no,
the last one.
those were the last ones. Those are the last ones.
So Pericles says two other picks I have for Vixen, Magosto M and Thuso Mbendu, both of whom appeared.
Thuso was in The Warrior King. She was the young lady who, quite frankly, could be Shuri, but that's who she was.
Yes,
The young,
the daughter of the Woman King.
yes, yes.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know that other person, but there are a lot of Black actresses out there who don't necessarily have the name recognition because they're not given opportunities, and that's one of the reasons why I'm adamantly opposed to the same actor and actresses playing multiple roles that put them in the spotlight. More
I
of us need,
Manifesto asks what's wrong with Ray.
more of us need to be given the opportunity to shine.
Ray, what's his last name?
Fisher.
Stephens? Fisher. Ray Fisher's career at Warner Brothers is done.
Well, Ray Fisher's career overall seems to be done because understand when he got
Well, he was in a Rebel Moon.
Okay, I didn't know that. But
Yeah, he was in Rebel
prior to that, he only had about 5 credits to his name when he got the role of Cyborg. And whatever treatment he received on set, he's been lambasting Warner Brothers for years about it. And so when you become cat or viewed as a troublemaker, nobody wants to deal with you. Look at Monique. Monique is great in movies. She is hilarious in movies. But because she has this reputation of being a troublemaker, people don't necessarily want to mess with her anymore. Her career is just now finally starting to get back on track because I think she was in BMF or something. Same thing with Ray Fisher. He was, you didn't see him in anything for like 3 or 4 years other than True Detective, where he played the son of Mahershala Ali on that. But outside of that, he wasn't on anything until he was in this series, one of the Black trauma porn series about us being denigrated, set in the 50s or 60s or something. But yeah, that's the problem with Ray Fisher. He has, burned bridges over there at Warner Brothers based on how he was treated.
Right, right. Let's see. Louisiana Kid says, thanks, H&H Comics. Paul, I think I'll wait. I really think you should wait, dude. Honestly, $250 is a lot. That's more than twice what I paid for mine a year ago. And I think once the record, if it is broken in this year, that book's value is going to go down significantly. So I think it's best to wait. And Derek says he could probably find you one at a better price. So Derek's good about stuff like that. Armis of Gualthy, late answer. The only way to make the Inhumans good is to have the author of the Game of Thrones with the 12-part series like Alex Ross drawing. He really doesn't like Inhumans. Louisiana Kid, thank you. Def Rocker says Dr. Voodoo versus Doctor Strange. Is that a question? Like, who would win in a battle?
Strange.
I think honestly, and I love Dr. Voodoo, but I think Strange would have that.
Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme for a reason. But Chiwetel Ejiofor could have been Dr. Voodoo versus them making him
he would have been a great
Mordo. Because Mordo was always characterized as somewhat of an Eastern European character. That's why he went by Baron. So anyway, Spawn.
Ghost Rider versus Spawn. Who would win? Spawn.
Spawn's
got a whole bunch of powers. Ghost
Rider. So anyway, so my book of the week is Ultimate Black Panther. Is very good. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. A very close second for me. Very close second. Honestly, that's how much I love this book. Was that Star Trek book. because
Yeah,
it
I
was
see that.
it was filled with so many damn Easter eggs. It had me going wow on every page.
Yeah.
Um, Chillmonger says you spent more time on Jon Stewart tonight than his screen time since 2000. Chillmonger really hates Jon Stewart. We really need to talk to him about that.
Ozark was phenomenal.
Louisiana Kid says, yes, sir, HNH. I won some books from you all during the end of the year show in 22. I think I emailed you all my address. Bro, we're not going to remember that. we're not going to sift through hundreds of emails. Just email us again, Louisiana Kid. I Manifesto. Speaking of Bass Reeves, David Oyelowo would be a good Jon Stewart.
I see him as Moses Magnum. I've fan cast him as Moses Magnum forever.
Wow, that's random. That's very random. Like that was in your mental Rolodex.
He mentioned the name. I know these actors. I could see him as Moses Magnum, not as Jon Stewart.
That was really random. Who do you think could play? Oh God,
Damson Idris is the number one. I mean, we've
start him. Yeah, let me pull up your picture. Let me pull up your picture. I wonder if it's in your DMs in the past here.
Probably so.
Hold on. I think I asked you recently to send me that.
But Damson Idris is number one. Stephen James is up there. Sope Dirisu is up there.
I have your list. You don't have to go through the list. Here's Mark's list.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good damn list. Admittedly, this is a pretty good damn list. My number one guy is Damson Idris. He's the right age. He definitely has the acting chops. He needs to drink some protein shakes, and have some workout, build up his muscles a bit. But other than that, he would be perfect. Absolutely perfect. But there's a lot of guys on this list that I also wouldn't be mad if they got the role. Right. Sope Dirisu, I really like that guy.
Stephen James, who's next to Sope, is a phenomenal actor as well. And he was in one of Chadwick Boseman's last roles in, 21 Bridges or whatever that was called. So, and like Chadwick Boseman, his career kind of got noticed when he was playing a live action character the way Chadwick Boseman got known for playing Jackie Robinson. Stephen James played Jesse Owens.
If he had not been cast as Hawkman, Aldous Hodge would have been a good
correct. But I just don't know if he would be able to do the accent. I've never heard him do an accent before, so that's my only question about him. But number 2 on that list is Abubakar Salim, and if you've ever seen the show Raised by Wolves, I highly recommend that show. He jumped up to the number 2 spot, jumping Stephen James and Sope Dirisu when I saw him in Raised by Wolves. The only person the guy who put this list together, most of these people are people who I suggested. There are a couple on here that he put on there. For example, Yolande Noel, who's on the third on the right. I don't think he would be perfect for this role, only because he's too short. He's probably around 5'9", 5'10", which means he's about 5'3" in real life.
Yeah, but they make Tom Cruise looks like he's 6'1".
I understand that, but no. He's a good actor. He's a solid actor. And quite frankly, I think he should be Blade instead of Mahershala Ali, because Mahershala is at this point way too old to be in that role.
I can absolutely see Yolande Noel play Blade.
Yeah.
Absolutely see him play Blade.
Yeah. The guy above him, Kofi, what's his name? Not Kofi Annan.
He was the one from that series by Oprah Winfrey?
Not Sugar Hill, but
Queen Sugar.
He was in Queen Sugar and he was in Girls Trip. I didn't add him. To me, he's not a solid actor. He's got the look, absolutely, but I don't necessarily think he's a solid actor. So
this guy right here, I don't know his name. I remember him from Fresh Prince. Not Fresh Prince. The Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay, I don't know him from that, but he was in
did you watch Prince of Bel-Air?
No, he was in Jingle Jangle, I think it was called.
He did.
The Christmas movie.
Yes.
Oh, and also the Umbrella Academy. He was in one of the seasons of the Umbrella Academy.
The second school.
Yeah.
In Prince of Bel-Air, he played the love interest, the ex-boyfriend of Hillary, the football
Okay.
player. That's him.
The guy underneath him,
I have no idea who this guy is.
okay, he's a Brit, and he was in the show. I can't think of the name of it. It's on Amazon Prime, but he's a very solid actor, and his name is
I don't
something
care. He doesn't look like T'Challa to me.
to you, but he's a solid actor, and to me, he has the look. Physically, he has the stature to be the role. So yeah, I can see him doing it.
Sure. All right, let's get back to these comments. There, we answered that. Michael Jai White should play Spawn or Bronze Tiger again.
No,
Michael Jai White is in phenomenal shape. He's physically capable of doing the action scenes very well. But, you know, when you're doing these franchises, you want these actors to be able to play the role in multiple films over at least a 10-year span.
correct.
I don't want Michael Jai White playing this role when he's 62 years old.
Right. And he's like 57 now, so no.
Yeah, he'd be 67. That just doesn't make sense. Lies spread by Tyler and Oprah.
Okay, sure.
Is Israeli Adesanya for the next? I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
Louisiana Kid, I found your email. Can you all just DM each other? Why are you in the chat? At this point, just give Waller the Infinity Gauntlet and let the chaos begin.
Different universe.
It would be the opposite. Amanda Waller would bring absolute stability to the universe, not chaos. Thank you, H&H Comics. Hey, Jeffrey Thorne in the building.
Hey,
what's
what's going on? What's going on?
Jeffrey Thorne for new Black Panther writer. Armistead Gwatney, Denzel Washington is Moses Magnum.
Bless your heart, I'm a start. No, both of those men are in their 60s. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's just come on. Dude.
No. Now let me tell you this.
Maybe 15 years ago that would have worked.
Go back. Dennis Haysbert. 15 years ago, Dennis Haysbert with his stature and that voice would have been the perfect Blue Marvel. But the dude is in his 60s right now. So absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree. Ozark, she's playing chess and you playing Candyland.
Yeah,
sure.
Ozark is a very, very good series.
Tope Dirasu and Abukar Salim are definitely my picks for Charlotte. Pericles,
but behind Damson Idris. Damson Idris is number one.
Damson Idris is number one. Wesley Snipes would be a good T'Chaka.
No.
He would.
No,
he would. The guy who should really have played T'Chaka in the Black Panther films. I forget his name. I'm looking.
I just sent this. It's funny that you say that.
It's the actor from Spartacus. The actor from Spartacus would have played an excellent T'Chaka. He was also in the movie 300. What's his name?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But that's not who I was thinking about. But the guy,
another guy who would have been actually not bad is the guy who just recently died. Lance
Reddick.
Lance Reddick could have played T'Chaka.
I'm gonna show you this picture and tell me that he wouldn't have been good. And he was in God, what was that? Okay, so if you've not seen Cadillac Records, you need to watch Cadillac Records. He was Howling Wolf or whatever the name was.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
Also in Chicago, the Chicago Fires and stuff like that.
Fire.
Yeah. Check your DMs, Paul. I just sent it to you.
You in the DMs again.
Yes, Paul. I sent you a DM because we're talking about it. But that guy would have been perfect. Absolutely perfect. Iman Walker is his name. I think he was in Oz, but I didn't watch Oz like that.
Why did you have him next to Chadwick Boseman?
I put him next to Chadwick Boseman so people could see the similarities in their looks. Tell me they don't look like they could be father and son.
Sure. He's a good actor. He's a very good actor.
He's a very good actor. And physically, he's like big as hell.
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude. He looks like, the way I envision T'Chaka, in my mind's eye, I see T'Chaka being killed by what's my name? Claw, while he was still the ruler of Wakanda. all due respect to John Kanai, he looked like an insurance salesman. He didn't look at that age like he was ever a physically imposing individual.
Right.
Iman Walker does,
Yeah.
even at his advanced age right now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jeffrey Thorne says most actors are short.
That is correct.
You would know. Most actors are short. Let's see. Francis Nangono would be a good Jabari in Black Panther.
Don't know who that is. And I like the fact that people are saying names that we may not be familiar with, because there are more actors and actresses out there than the 5 or 6 that people always fan cast, so that's a good thing.
Jaimin Bansu? I know Jaimin Hansu.
Yeah, Jaimin Hansu would have been a perfect Black Panther T'Challa 30 years ago.
They didn't waste him in the Guardians of the Galaxy playing some random...
Right, and he voiced the character in the Reginald Hudlin-based 12-issue or 12-episode stop-action Black Panther comic book. So
he really should have been cast as Black Panther as T'Chaka. Israel Adesanya, the UFC fighter, would also be a good T'Challa. That dude is a good actor. Most actors have heads compared to their shoulder width.
They got to listen. The reason why is because they have to remember all those lines, so their heads get bigger.
That's funny. British actor Peter Mensa. Peter Mensa. That's the guy who was. I couldn't remember his name.
He and Lance Reddick. I don't know. It's because they were both, slim with bald heads, but they actually reminded me of each other a lot.
Yes.
But I don't see him as T'Chaka. I see him as I can see him as Cyan. I can see him as the brother. But I could also
actually see him, the character that Priest had in his run, Zuri. The guy who was running around with him in New York.
Okay.
His advisor.
Okay. Yeah.
I could see him doing
Peter
that.
Mensa. I did not know that he was a Brit. That
Yul
is correct.
Brynner would be a good Professor X in his prime.
That is correct.
Yeah. Hansu is what I meant. Yeah, you meant Hansu. I manifest. Tyrese has a swole dome. All right. So last part of our show, because it's getting late. We've been it's been 200 hours and 43 minutes. Last part of our show is what you watching. But before we get there, we're going to take a quick commercial.
Make it a short one.
A short break. Here we go.
Where's our black real estate in comics? What do I mean? Let's check out Black Panther. He is gone from the MCU for reasons. And what is happening in the comics? We can complain all day about how our champion is being treated, but we don't own that character. Look at Milestone character, created by one of the greats, Dwayne McDuffie, my guy. But we don't really own or control any of his characters. DC does. So I'll ask again, where is our black real estate in comics? Meet Delta Dogs from Millennial Comics, created and controlled by us, where story sits in the forefront. Delta Dogs is more than just black characters being black for the sake of being black. This story is about 7 cousins that gets into an encounter with a mysterious glowing stranger that changes their lives forever. And with their unique abilities, this family may be the one thing that can save their hood that's being ruled over by a vicious super gang. With an ex-criminal as their leader and other superheroes that looks the other way when it comes to their environment, this will be an impossible mission to pull off. Grab these books in our hardcover Ultimate Edition bundle at millennialcomic.com so we can really have some skin in the game when it comes to the comic book industry. Keep doing y'all thing, Black Comic Lords. Peace.
All right, so we're at our part of our show. This is going to be more you because I have literally not watched any television this week.
So I didn't mention this one to you previously, but I'm gonna mention it now. Is that there is a movie that was released within the past couple of weeks called Outlaw Posse, right? Now
the trailer was released.
The movie was released within the past couple of weeks.
With Mario Van Peebles?
That is correct.
It got
So
released. I just saw the trailer like last week.
okay. So go back to the 1990s. One of the best Black movies ever was New Jack City, written, creating, and co-starring Mario Van Peebles, who is the son of the late great, I can't remember his name.
Melvin Van Peebles.
Melvin Van Peebles, correct.
Sweet,
So Mario,
Sweet Jack's badass song.
correct. Mario Van Peebles created, one of the best Black characters ever, played by the great Wesley Snipes and Nino Brown. New Jack City was phenomenal. In 1993, he had a movie, not phenomenal, but absolutely worth the watch, called Posse. Well, this year, a couple of weeks ago, a new movie was released called Outlaw Posse. It is not a sequel. It is not a sequel. It is not a sequel. It's two different characters. I went to this is how I know it was released, because I went to the theater to see it. It was bad. Oh my God, that movie. This is a Tubi type movie. Listen, I have the greatest deal of respect for Mario. He was in a film called Solo. That was good. He's been in a lot of stuff that I've actually enjoyed. The movie was so bad, I left out of the theater like an hour in. It just was not good.
Wow.
I cannot recommend that.
His Mario Van Peebles' son is in the movie too, right?
He is, and I didn't realize that was his son. But let me put it this way: the son is in a show called The Mayor of Kingstown, I think it is. He played a guard, and I didn't know until this movie that was in fact his son. But it's not good. So just wait till it comes on streaming, Tubi, or whatever. But
that manifesto says Sally
Richardson is fine. Sally Richardson needs to be a director in the MCU. Understand that she has been behind the camera now for the past 25, 30 years. Yeah. She's directed a lot of episodic TV, including a lot of shows in the Arrowverse. She's directed episodes of like Arrow, Flash, things of that nature.
I think she did some Titan episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Sally Richardson needs to be a director in the MCU. But what we're watching. Okay, so I've mentioned before, probably here, Guy Ritchie and Quentin Tarantino are two of my favorite directors ever. Specifically, Guy Ritchie. The dialogue that Guy Ritchie crafts in his films, like Rock and Rolla, like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, is just top-notch. Chef's kiss, right?
Yeah.
About 5 years ago, he had a movie called The Gentleman that starred Matthew McConaughey.
You can't mention those others and not mention the movie Snatch, which I think is the pinnacle.
Snatch, correct. Yes, Snatch.
That's the pinnacle of his art.
What is a nemesis, or whatever that dialogue was? Snatch, yes. So
Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels are his greatest works of art he's ever created.
Guy Ritchie is that dude to me, right? Yeah. So about 5-6 years ago, he created a movie called The Gentleman about a guy who is a drug dealer. He grows
marijuana.
Marijuana is a drug. He grows marijuana on the properties of these landed gentry in order to give them, because running a manor costs a lot of money. So in order for you to grow things surreptitiously, he goes underneath, these people's properties and grows stuff. Well, the movie did so well that he's now created a series on Netflix that's about 8 episodes. You do not have to have watched the movie in order to enjoy The Gentleman. The premise
is a television series based on the premise of the.
I'm getting there. The premise of the series is the exact same of the movie, just with different characters. So the guy that you see in the middle inherits his father's estate. The guy in the chicken suit is his brother. The lady to our screen left is the daughter of the main drug dealer. So the son in the middle has to work with her in order to grow the drugs, blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason why I mentioned this show specifically, because it's good, also the great Giancarlo Esposito is in it. And Giancarlo the character that he plays reminds me of the character that he plays in The Boys. Just a suited, bespectacled dude who's got his stuff together. It's It is a very, very good show. The movie was phenomenal. The series is very good. 8 episodes. Highly, highly recommend the show if you've not seen it. And again,
Okay.
you do not have to have seen the movie to watch the series.
I mean, if it says you guys putting me on with the gentleman. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never watched this television series. I saw the movie. Great movie. You know, I love, oddly enough, I've seen this movie, The Gentleman, 3 or 4 times, I think. At this point.
Correct.
The opening theme music. Don't ask me why, but I dig that damn song.
I don't even remember.
Cumberland Gap. It's kind of a folksy, bluesy country song.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I'd play it, but then we'd get tagged, and my Black Comic Lord people, Derek, will give me dirty looks and say you're demonetizing us again.
Yeah,
But look up Cumberland Gap.
Yeah, I have that saved now. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was I don't know what it is about that song.
Yeah,
but that song haunts me. Like every time it plays, I have to listen to it, the whole thing. And I'm not into country music or anything like that at all. I'm the complete opposite. But I dig that song. I find it haunting.
Yeah, it's good. It's very the movie, the series is really, really good. The only criticism that I would have about the series is that it's lacking the snappy pattern that I have become accustomed to when it comes to Guy Ritchie's movies.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's still a very, very good series. Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Right.
Scale of 1 to 10.
You had one other show that you wanted to talk about before we go.
Just real briefly, Shogun episode 4 dropped this week. Shogun is a really good show set in the 1500s, Japan, feudal Japan. Very good show. Highly recommend.
This actor who's the lead, who you've seen in a bunch of different films. He's been in the MCU a couple times, actually, because he was in Avengers playing Silver Samurai getting killed by Hawkeye. And he was also in, I think it was the same role. He was in Wolverine, the Wolverine.
Was he? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the one where Wolverine's claws get cut off.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
But technically, I believe he was still playing Silver Samurai in that as well.
I did not remember that.
I think he played the same character in 2 different Marvel universes. I'm gonna have to research that.
Yeah. He also was in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
With Tom Cruise. I think that's the first film I ever saw him in.
Yeah.
But the thing about this actor who is Japanese, and this series is based on Japanese characters. He insisted on a Japanese cast. He wanted a truly authentic Japanese cultural representation.
He's one of the producers as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So, hats off to him for insisting on, I want my stuff to be authentic to my culture. I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that.
And and I mentioned this previously, but if you've watched Monarch, a couple of the folks who are in Monarch are also in this. In fact, Hiroyuki Sanada's main rival plays the Japanese father in Monarch, and the girl who plays his daughter in Monarch she's the main female lead in this as well. And Paul, you are right. He did play in the Wolverine also. So yeah. So that's it. But anyway, damn, it's been almost 3 hours. So yeah, that's it. Guys, ladies, thank you for joining us. Remember, hit subscribe, hit like. Thanks for spending a Friday with us once again, and we will see you on the flip side.
We appreciate each and every one of you. Again, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy our channel, please hit the like button. Share the video on your socials. Just hit it, whether it be Facebook, Twitter. We got a lot of people on Twitter tonight. Please share the video. Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. We want our channel to grow so we can do more of this stuff to all of you. So thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time. Right? Mark?
Peace.
All right. Black Comic Lords, we got you.